Chapter 1582. Bone Demon Immortal Emperor. The White/Flying Spirit Immortal art was one of the successions that Qin Nan had acquired from the Forbidden Taboo sect. The art could only be executed with the help of the Forbidden Taboo flesh. Once it was executed, it would place a spirit inside a cultivator. The spirit was formless and incorporeal. It was impossible to get rid of it, nor was it possible to defeat it with ordinary methods. The spirit would then summon a weapon to attack the cultivator. If the cultivator was still alive, the spirit would pick up the weapon and kill the cultivator. "Qin Nan, don't you dare!" Wan Shao let out a roar and struggled vigorously. Several feathers flew out of his wings and slashed at Qin Nan. Every single one of the wings possessed extraordinary power and was incomparably powerful. On top of it, immortal talismans floated out of his body too, and rare artifacts gradually rose into the air. As a peerless genius, who was also the son of a peerless ruler, the trump cards he had were surely extraordinary. Suppress. Qin Nan was like an ancient god. His words were like the law of nature. His eye technique, combined with the destruction will, summoned an illusionary mountain crushing down on Wan Shao. Both the feathers and the talismans were suppressed before they could unleash their power. Their glow dimmed as they lost their vigor. Qin Nan did not stop there. He threw a punch at Wan Zhao's back. The latter groaned in pain. Even though he was a godly bird with an extraordinary flesh, he was still no match for Qin Nan. Wrath of the Bone Demon. Meanwhile, the underworld prince was engulfed in illusionary flames. He sacrificed his force of demons to execute an art. Squeak, squeak. A strange voice rang out from an unknown place. A decaying skeleton that seemed like it would shatter at any moment suddenly appeared and tapped on the heroic spirit's body. This attack looked simple and unadorned, without any power, but the strange thing was that the heroic spirit actually collapsed and turned into nothingness. "Qin Nan, so what if you're strong? You still can't do anything to me today. We'll meet again in the future." The underworld prince groaned and performed an ancient seal with his hands. The blood he spilled on the ground seemed to come alive. It rapidly gathered and formed a dark black ball of blood. The ball of blood burned like a flame. Countless runes spread out, emitting waves of invisible energy that enveloped his body. His figure suddenly became illusory. The reason why he had spilled so much blood was so that he could execute a powerful technique to leave this place. "You want to leave?" Qin Nan summoned a giant hand of destruction, grabbing the heaven-shattering saber and slashing at the underworld prince. "Qin Nan, I'm using the Bone Devil Blood escape art. I'm currently in an intangible state. You can't hurt me at all." The underworld prince's expression did not change at all. Instead, there was a hint of arrogance on his face. He had once fought with many experts, and he had relied on this move to leave safely. "Really?" Qin Nan's eyes shone with a black light as the Tao crystal in his body circulated. At that instant, the heaven-shattering saber was covered in a magnificent blue glow, suppressing every aura in the place. "Qin Nan, so what if you've achieved the Tao realm?" The underworld prince's expression remained the same. Even though the Tao glow of the minor success stage of the Tao realm was able to greatly suppress the power, he was not afraid of the move at all. Bang! However, when the blade slashed down, the sphere of blood and the formation that extended from it both suffered a terrifying blow and directly shattered. What just happened? The underworld prince was startled. He did not expect this to happen. Death upon the area. Qin Nan slashed at the rift. "Qin Nan, you can't kill me. I'm one of the successors of the Bone Devil Immortal Emperor. If you kill me today, the Bone Devil Immortal Emperor will never forgive you." The underworld prince yelled as he sensed a great danger that he had never felt before. Even though it was extremely embarrassing and did not fit his identity as a peerless genius, it was more important for him to stay alive. As long as he could stay alive, anything was possible in the future. However, before he could finish, A magnificent saber intent burst out from his body and shredded him into pieces. Qin Nan could not care less if the underworld prince was an immortal emperor or a nine heavens supreme. Since the underworld prince was picking on him, he would not show any mercy. Besides, it was time for him to establish his authority in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. Otherwise, many people would come to pick on him. Buzz. At that instant, the rift suddenly shook vigorously as a crimson glow appeared out of nowhere and entered Qin Nan's body at a shocking pace. A murderous aura burst out from Qin Nan's body. Qin Nan squinted. He had read from the 10,000 Dao immortal badge that killing a peerless genius would trigger a reaction from the heavens and earth, resulting in the seal of the heavens and earth. The more peerless geniuses that were killed, the stronger the seal of the heavens and earth would be. Once, a nameless cultivator had killed a few peerless geniuses in a row. He was emitting a crimson murderous aura as he was not purposely concealing it. The other cultivators immediately fled for their lives when they saw it. "You even dare to kill my successor? I, the Bone Demon Immortal Emperor." At that instant, a piercing voice came from the underworld prince's blood. A pitch-black aura rose and formed some kind of seal to penetrate Qin Nan's body. Qin Nan was already aware of it. He slashed forward and shattered the aura into pieces. The heaven-shattering saber was able to shatter anything. Even though Qin Nan was unable to fully utilize its power, it was able to shatter anything below the human immortal realm when combined with the Dao glow. Did you really kill the underworld prince? Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao wore a blank face. He had only become a peerless genius not long ago. It was his first time witnessing the death of a peerless genius. He's dead. The faces of the peak heaven gods turned pale too. The underworld prince was a peerless genius. He would easily be ranked at the top in any small immortal realm. His future was limitless. "It's your turn now." Qin Nan unleashed a tremendous aura. He performed a hand seal, summoning wisps of destruction battle will to turn into illusionary dragons in his hand. He had only sealed off Wan Zhao's meridians and his beast force. He was now going to seal off Wan Zhao's strength with a special seal. Chapter 1583. Xianping Immortal Realm. How bold! In the nick of time, a thunderous voice exploded deep in the sky. The place within a few dozen li shook vigorously. Immortal intents from nowhere collided with one another and surged wildly, as if the place was in chaos. A magnificent illusionary figure gradually appeared in the midst of the chaos. The moment it appeared, everything in the surroundings lost its brilliance. Both Qin Nan and the peak heaven gods were minuscule compared to the figure, like the heavens and earth. It was a wisp of the golden-winged Pring Emperor's will. When little Pring Emperor Wan Shao suffered a great blow, the wisp of his will would appear to intimidate the enemy. "I am the golden-winged Pring Emperor. Wan Shao is my only." The magnificent illusionary figure stood in the air and looked down at Qin Nan. Every word was uttered with an overwhelming aura. The faces of the peak heaven gods paled slightly. Even though they had seen the golden-winged Ping Emperor's clone before, and its aura was a few dozen times stronger than what they were witnessing now, they were still intimidated by the aura of a peerless ruler. Bang! However, before the illusionary figure could finish its sentence, a vast saber chi slashed its body and turned it into nothingness under its astonished gaze. Trying to intimidate me with just a wisp of his will? Qin Nan did not even bother looking at the figure. He slapped a hand seal on Wan Zhao's back. The dragon-shaped phantoms instantly drilled into its limbs and bones and began to form a special seal. "Qin Nan, just you wait." Wan Shao let out a furious roar. A shocking immortal glow burst out of his body. Each of his feathers was carved with an ancient rune. Whoosh! Before Qin Nan could react, Wan Zhao's figure suddenly vanished into thin air without a trace. I didn't expect him to have such a trick up his sleeves. As expected of the son of a peerless ruler, He's very different from ordinary peerless geniuses. Qin Nan shook his head. At this point, he couldn't change the situation. As for the special seal, he had no idea if it would be completed in the end. After all, there were too many variables after Wan Shao escaped. It is indeed a bit of a pity. However, even if I let you escape this time, you will definitely not be able to escape next time. The black light in Qin Nan's eyes retreated, and the golden fire reignited. If he did not stumble into Wan Shao again, he would wait until he successfully ascended as an immortal and became a peerless ruler to subdue the golden-winged Ping Emperor. Between the father and son, he had to subdue one. Let's leave this place first. Qin Nan glanced at the several dozen peak celestial gods who were still trapped. With a flash, he disappeared into the distance. With his current cultivation base, he could easily defeat cultivators around the 5th layer of the celestial god realm. With some other tricks up his sleeve, he could even survive against cultivators below the 8th layer of the celestial god realm. However, there was still a gap between them and the pinnacle celestial gods, let alone the dozen or so pinnacle celestial gods. After flying for a few hundred breaths, Qin Nan came to a stop and observed his surroundings. He took out the 10,000 Dao Immortal badge when he realized that the people were not chasing after him. He had to find a place to improve his cultivation to the Heaven God realm. It would be better if he could improve his cultivation to the 5th layer Heaven God realm. Qin Nan was astounded as soon as he peeked into the badge with his divine sense. The news of the South World Immortal Emperor defeating the other 2 Immortal Emperors was no longer the focus of the news. It was replaced by the news that the 9 Melodies Departing River, one of the immortal ancient places in the Zuanpingshan's small immortal realm, was about to open. The immortal ancient places are coming? Qin Nan's breathing shifted. He subconsciously clenched his fists. Everyone knew that only by entering the immortal ancient battlefield would one be able to find shocking fortunate encounters and compete with the geniuses and experts to ascend as an immortal. Even though it was the goal of many cultivators to ascend as an immortal, in Qin Nan's opinion, ascending as an immortal was not the most important thing. Most importantly, the beast-hide ancient scroll did mention that he would only learn some secrets after ascending as an immortal, and learn how to resurrect Princess Miao Miao. I'll head to the Zuanpingshan small immortal realm now. Not long after, Qin Nan made up his mind. He began to search for places in the 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge that would allow him to head to the other small immortal realms. Don't go to the Zuanpingshan small immortal realm. At that instant, Empress Feiyue's icy voice echoed in Qin Nan's divine sense all of a sudden. Why can't I go? Qin Nan frowned and said impatiently. He had already sent a message to Empress Feiyue more than a month ago, but the latter had ignored it. Now that she had said something like that, it went without saying that he would not be in a good mood. The 9 Melodies Departing River will only open in at least 3 months. It's just a rare phenomenon now. Empress Feiyue seemed to be unaware of Qin Nan's reaction. Her voice remained cold. Besides, do you think you can ascend as an immortal with just the opening of an immortal ancient place? Qin Nan was startled. What do you mean? It seems like you have a bad memory. Have you forgotten how you managed to achieve the martial monarch realm and achieve the martial god realm? Empress Feiyue said disdainfully. You're trying to ascend as an immortal, but it's different for you. The fortunate encounters and the circumstances are different too. When I tried to ascend as an immortal for the first time, only 8 immortal ancient places showed up. I failed straight away. The second time, I barely succeeded when 14 immortal ancient places showed up. Her tone remained cold when she mentioned her failure. However, Qin Nan immediately came to a realization after hearing the word. So you're saying that I can only ascend as an immortal when more than 14 immortal ancient places show up? Qin Nan rubbed his forehead. It was common knowledge that every 20 to 40 years, there would be several immortal ancient battlefields, forbidden lands, and other places that would appear, perhaps even several dozen. However, no one knew the exact number of immortal ancient places. There might only be 1 or more than 10 immortal ancient places. If he was unlucky, he would have no choice but to wait. Of course, I don't mind telling you that a Nine Heavens Supreme has predicted that only 3 immortal ancient places will show up this time. Empress Feiyue said without mercy. Only 3 or so? Qin Nan was startled. How was he going to ascend as an immortal if there were only 3 immortal ancient places? He could only watch as he missed the opportunity. Would he have to wait for another 20 or 40 years? Most importantly, they still had no idea how many immortal ancient places would show up in 20 to 40 years' time. If your cultivation is too outstanding, the path to becoming an immortal is destined to be more difficult. Many outstanding geniuses ended up becoming ordinary because they didn't have the chance. Chapter 1584. Second Immortal Ascension. However, what she said was the truth. It was not difficult to achieve a law-defying cultivation among cultivators of the same level. It was possible with enough luck, determination, and persistence. However, it was extremely difficult to achieve the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm, or even the Peerless Ruler Realm. Is there really no other way? Qin Nan's heart sank as countless thoughts flashed across his mind. He even thought of the white-blue flower. He could find the immortal ancient places that had yet to be opened and trigger them. However, he was not sure if the white-blue flower was able to affect the immortal ancient places. Normally, cultivators would not be able to force their way into the immortal ancient places before they were opened. Not every place was the same as the Lu Wang battleground. There is. After some time, a cold voice echoed in Qin Nan's mind. There's a way. Qin Nan was stunned. Of course there is. Anything in the world can be done by humans, including opening the immortal ancient places. Empress Feiyue slowed down her pace for some reason, as if she was purposely baiting Qin Nan. When I ascended the second time, there were only 9 immortal ancient places, but after using some tricks, there were 14 of them. I can't tell you what the method is, and you can't do it either. However, if you promise to listen to my orders once, I can increase the number of immortal ancient places to more than 14. She had been planning her moves carefully. She finally revealed her motive with the last sentence. If you can do it, I'll promise you. Qin Nan's lips twisted slightly as he said. Even though Empress Feiyue had given him a piece of great news and a great help, he was still unable to feel excited. In just a few breaths, his emotions had experienced 2 great ups and downs. He had no idea how he was feeling right now. Empress Feiyue did not notice anything unusual. Her voice did not appear again. Everything returned to normal. She didn't even tell me the rough time. It seems like I can only wait. It took Qin Nan some time to calm his thoughts. He shook his head and scanned the 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge. Perhaps it was because the immortal ancient place was about to open, but there was a lot more information about how to raise one's cultivation. Some factions with peerless rulers that had been keeping a low profile were offering all kinds of benefits to attract the cultivators to cultivate at the blessed immortal land. Fine, I'll go to the Sky Taihuang sect. Qin Nan withdrew his divine sense and made a decision. The Sky Taihuang sect was one of the 3 supreme Taoism factions in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. It was slowly becoming the leader of the 3 supreme Taoism factions. The Copper Mirror had rejected the invitations of every faction, yet she ended up as an honorary elder of the faction. The peerless genius with the same name as Qiu Hong was among them too. Besides, according to the rules, he would have a lot of opportunities to improve his cultivation in the Sky Taihuang sect. It was a great opportunity for him to take a look at the so-called Supreme Taoism factions and see the geniuses inside. Time gradually passed. 2 days were gone in the blink of an eye. During these 2 days, the news that the underworld prince was killed by someone called Qin Nan who had surpassed the peerless genius realm, spread to many people. However, it did not cause too much of a stir in the end. After all, everyone had their attention on the immortal ancient place that was about to open. Besides, the Shangxingtian small immortal realm was different from the Kanglan continent. There was no monarch ranking, god ranking, or faction that specialized in spreading the news. Everyone knew that a peerless genius had been killed without anyone knowing. As for Qin Nan, he had been traveling for the past 2 days. He was not far away from the Sky Taihuang sect. All of a sudden, Qin Nan came to a stop and scanned his surroundings. Just a moment ago, he had sensed a strange fluctuation. Could it be Long Xianling and the others? The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. His figure tensed as he unleashed his god force, ready to unleash it at any second. Whoosh! A few moments later, a purple-golden flame burst into flames in front of Qin Nan without any sign. Inside the flame was a scroll emitting a gentle glow. What's this? Qin Nan wore a confused look. He reached his hand out and took the scroll after a slight ponder. He removed the forbidding aura on it and inserted his divine sense into it. Brother Qin Nan, I'm Qiu Hong. An excited voice echoed in his mind. I was planning to look for you, but I didn't expect to sense your presence, so I purposely sent you a scroll. Qin Nan listened carefully. Even he could not help but inhale deeply. His face was filled with astonishment. He did not expect this Qiu Hong, whom he initially thought had the same name, was actually the body that he had once occupied in his soul form. If it wasn't Qiu Hong, he would not believe it if the beast-hide drawing, the old man with white eyebrows, and everything that had happened. One had to know that Qiu Hong had lost all of his life force back then. Even though that Qiu Hong was different from the princess, his flesh did not decay, and I even used his body to achieve the Dao realm, but Qin Nan was still struggling to calm his thoughts. The power of the beast-hide drawing had completely exceeded his imagination. Even a 9 Heavens Supreme would not be able to come back from the brink of death, right? Brother Qin Nan, I know you're trying to improve your cultivation to prepare for your immortal ascension. I happen to accept a quest with great benefit. Why don't you come with me? I'm not sure if you believe me now, but I'll swear an immortal demon oath that I will never betray you no matter what happens. Qin Nan gradually calmed his thoughts. He could not help but wear a smile when he heard the last few sentences. He was not surprised because Qiu Hong had sworn an immortal demon oath, but because it was rare to stumble into someone he was familiar with in the immortal realm. He felt a strange warmth in his heart too. In addition to that, the relationship between him and Qiu Hong was no longer ordinary. It felt like they were brothers. Wait for me at the silent ancient city. I'll be there in a day. Qin Nan transmitted his thought into the scroll. After destroying it, he withdrew his aura and flew into the distance. The seal of the heavens and earth inside his body would unleash a murderous intent. Chapter 1585. The silent ancient city. Time gradually passed. A day later, Qin Nan arrived as promised. Several enormous cities covered in immortal glows floated in the air ahead. At the center of the cities was a rather eye-catching city over 19,000 zhang tall. It was made of some kind of starlight or with a formidable aura. The enormous city was none other than the silent ancient city, one of the 23 ancient cities under the Sky Taihuang sect. Any cultivator was allowed to enter it. Qin Nan shifted his gaze to the back of the cities. As far as his eyes could see, there were all kinds of strange glows and immortal intents lingering in the air. It was like an illusionary gate. Once someone stepped through it, they would enter a whole new world. The world was the Sky Taihuang sect. Every supreme Taoism faction, the factions under the peerless rulers, and other factions were different. Their locations and other things were located deep inside the heavens and earth. Unlike the silent ancient city, cultivators from other places had to complete certain quests or pay a certain price to enter the Sky Taihuang sect. According to the 10,000 Tao Immortal Badge, the Sky Taihuang sect has 19 blessed immortal lands and 2 Tao-seeking lands. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. He was very interested in the Tao-seeking lands and the arts of Tao-seeking they mentioned. I should ask Chiu Hong about it. Qin Nan murmured. He flew into the silent ancient city with a flicker. As soon as he set foot in the city, a faint woody fragrance entered his nose. Even though there were quite a lot of cultivators coming and going, and all kinds of voices were echoing in his ears, his heart was calmed and at ease. There are indeed quite a lot of experts here. Qin Nan observed his surroundings as he walked. The cultivators in the city were mostly in the Earth God realm and Heaven God realm. There were quite a number of human immortals too. He also sensed 2 terrifying auras deep inside the city. They were most likely the Earth immortals guarding the place. The top 10 core disciples. The trial to become an outer disciple of the Sky Taihuang sect. You only need 10,000 celestial stones, and I can tell you how to become an outer disciple. The vendors on both sides of the road were all related to the Sky Taihuang sect, regardless of what they were doing. What's going on over there? After a while, Qin Nan stopped in his tracks with curiosity in his eyes. In front of them was a 6-storied palace, and at the entrance of the palace was a training ground with a radius of more than 1,000 feet. There were more than 300 cultivators with different cultivation bases on the dojo. At the very front stood a golden pillar that was over 30 meters tall and covered in immortal patterns. A human god placed his hand on the golden pillar. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Low-grade acquired immortal root. On both sides of the golden pillar stood 2 disciples in white robes. One of them said indifferently with an expressionless face. The human god realm cultivator let out a sigh upon hearing this. An earth god realm cultivator stepped forward from the crowd behind with a nervous look. Is this a test for immortal roots? I'll go and give it a try. Qin Nan murmured and walked into the crowd. Since Chiu Hong was not here yet, he decided to take a look at the level of the immortal root in his body. Low-grade acquired immortal root. Low-grade acquired immortal root. No immortal root, one after another, the voices were heard as the cultivators finished their tests. During this process, Qin Nan gradually learned the meaning of the immortal root. The immortal roots were categorized into innate and acquired immortal roots, followed by acquired immortal root. The immortal roots were further categorized into rare phenomenon, supreme grade, upper grade, intermediate grade, and low grade. Even though the immortal roots were different from the martial spirits of the Kanglan continent, the higher the grade of the immortal root, the more immortal force the cultivator would receive when they ascended as an immortal. In addition to that, those with an innate immortal root could also practice some special immortal arts as an offensive move. Meanwhile, on the 6th floor of the palace, a middle-aged man with white hair and glittering eyes let out a sigh and said, "So far, there hasn't been a single upper-grade acquired immortal root. Third Elder, I'm afraid we're going to lose to the other cities." The other 22 ancient cities were also having their immortal roots tested too. If they found an immortal root that was relatively good, they would make an exception and recruit the cultivator as an outer disciple. Beside the middle-aged man, an old man with a face full of wrinkles who was referred to as the Third Elder said calmly with his eyes closed, "Don't worry, there's still a day left. It's fine even if we lose." The middle-aged man let out a wry smile and said, "That being said, but this cultivator's aura is a little strange." It happened to be Qin Nan's turn to be tested on the dojo. To his surprise, even with his cultivation of the peak heaven god realm, he could not see through Qin Nan's cultivation with his eye technique. The Third Elder opened his left eye with an immortal glow. He glanced at Qin Nan and nodded slightly. This kid is indeed different. He might have an upper-grade innate immortal root. His cultivation had reached the peak human immortal realm, yet he still could not see through Qin Nan's cultivation. The middle-aged man straightened his back with great anticipation. Under his gaze, Qin Nan placed his hand on the golden pillar. However, after a few moments, the golden pillar still did not show any reaction, not even the slightest glow. He doesn't even have an acquired immortal root. The middle-aged man was stunned. Before he said helplessly, "Why would he bother taking the test if he doesn't have an immortal root? Isn't it a waste of time?" The third elder shook his head and closed his left eye. "I clearly have an immortal root in my body. Why isn't the golden pillar showing any reaction? Is it because my immortal root is transformed from the divine god of battle?" Qin Nan frowned. Upon having this thought, he left the place without saying a single word. He was only curious about the grade of his immortal root, but since the divine god of battle was involved, he was not willing to do anything else to avoid exposing himself. The disciple in charge of the test glanced coldly at Qin Nan's back and yelled, "You don't have an immortal root next." I was born with an immortal root with a brilliant glow. It's surely an upper-grade innate immortal root." A muscular man walked over with large strides. His face was filled with confidence as he stretched out his hand. An upper-grade innate immortal root? The cultivators behind him were startled. Their eyes flickered with envy. A upper-grade innate immortal root was quite impressive. The middle-aged man on the 6th floor was influenced by the man's confidence. His eyes flickered with anticipation once again. Chapter 1586. Breaking the Rule to the Inner Disciple. Chapter 1594. Breaking the Rule to the Inner Disciple. Buzz. An invisible force suddenly burst out, stopping the hand of the 5th-layer Earth God Realm cultivator in the air. He was unable to move his hand forward no matter how hard he tried. "What's going on?" The bulky man was stunned. In addition to him, the cultivators below the pillar and the middle-aged man on the 6th floor shared the same reaction too. The golden pillar might be extraordinary, as it contained immortal force, but without anyone controlling it, it could only be used as a test instead of unleashing its full power. Could it be that this golden pillar was broken? Could this be? The third elder's eyes sprang open. He stared at the golden pillar and rose to his feet as a thought crossed his mind. Bang! A brilliant immortal glow burst out of the golden pillar. The immortal rays continued to dissipate, revealing different scenes. There were immortals fishing, suns exploding, and cultivators fighting one another. There were too many to count. Rare phenomenon? Could it be the innate rare phenomenon immortal root? The middle-aged man rose to his feet too. His face was filled with disbelief. Due to his excitement, the god force in his body surged. His voice was extremely loud. It penetrated the palace and echoed on the dojo. What? The innate rare phenomenon immortal root? The cultivators on the dojo were astounded. The innate rare phenomenon immortal root was one of the best immortal root. Even some of the peerless geniuses did not have one. The brawny man in front of him was actually this powerful? I did this. The burly man was still in a daze, unable to believe what he had just heard. Ha! With the innate rare phenomenon immortal root, how could the other cities possibly stand a chance against us? The middle-aged man burst out laughing. He frowned as a thought crossed his mind. Something isn't right. The man didn't touch the golden pillar, even if. The third elder beside him suddenly said, "It's the young man from before. The golden pillar isn't reacting because it's brewing a rare phenomenon." The middle-aged man shuddered upon hearing this. Is it the young man from before? No way, I have to go over and ask him to join the sect. While he was shocked, he quickly reacted. If this person with the celestial phenomenon immortal root didn't join the sect because of their carelessness, he would regret it to death. I'm going too. The third elder made up his mind without hesitation. He transmitted his thought and grabbed the middle-aged man before vanishing into thin air. At the same time, on the other side of the silent ancient city, Crane Restaurant. Just a moment ago, Chiu Hong had sent him a message via divine sense, saying that he was already waiting for him in one of the rooms of the restaurant. Qin Nan pushed open the door to the room and saw a blue-clothed woman. Then, he saw a familiar face. What was different from before was that Chiu Hong's current aura was like an abyss. Qin Nan took a quick glance and saw through Chiu Hong. He had already reached the first layer Heaven God realm, and there was still a faint hint of Tao intent in his body. He must have achieved the four extremities by now, and had even begun to touch the threshold of the Tao realm. Before Qin Nan could speak, he frowned and glanced at the blue-clothed woman. It was his first time meeting the blue-clothed woman, yet for some reason, the latter had a strong hostility toward him. Brother Nan. Chiu Hong was stunned for a few moments before he collected his thoughts. His eyes reddened as he was about to rise to his feet and kneel in front of Qin Nan. Don't you dare do that to me. Qin Nan was given a great fright. He quickly helped Chiu Hong to his feet and said with a calm smile, "We are now brothers, don't treat me like an outsider." The blue-clothed woman twisted her lips upon hearing this. She was hostile toward Qin Nan because Chiu Hong used to treat her coldly because of Qin Nan. In addition to that, she also looked down on Qin Nan, who came from the secondary lower realm. Brother? This guy is really good at making connections. The blue-clothed woman murmured in her heart. Brother Nan is right, I'm too much like him. Chiu Hong scratched his head. He did not look like a peerless genius at all. Brother Nan, let's get down to business. What's your cultivation now? Chiu Hong quickly asked. Peak Earth God Realm. Qin Nan did not hide anything from him. Peak Earth God Realm? Chiu Hong's face was filled with astonishment. Even though he knew his brother had long achieved the Tao realm and possessed an extraordinary background, he did not expect his cultivation to improve so quickly in such a short period of time. It's only the Peak Earth God realm, what's there to be surprised about? The blue-clothed woman beside him was confused. However, she did not ask. She knew Chiu Hong did not like her interrupting when he was discussing business with others. Brother Nan, this time. Chiu Hong was about to speak when the door of the room was suddenly pushed open. The middle-aged man and the third elder entered the room together. Third elder? The blue-clothed woman immediately rose to her feet. She was only an outer disciple, thus it went without saying that she should be respectful toward the elders. Third elder, what are you doing? Chiu Hong's expression returned to its usual cold state. Junior brother Chiu Hong? The middle-aged man and the third elder were startled. Junior brother Chiu Hong is here too. The third elder wore a smile and said, The main thing is, we have something important to discuss with him. We were in too much of a rush just then. Qin Nan was startled. Chiu Hong frowned and said, He's my brother, why are you looking for him? The third elder and the middle-aged man were startled. They did not expect Qin Nan to have such a shocking identity, who was even Chiu Hong's brother. Haha, I was still guessing, but I finally understood. No wonder he has an immortal root with a rare phenomenon. He's your brother. The third elder burst out laughing. What? Immortal root with a rare phenomenon? He has an innate rare phenomenon. The blue-clothed woman was astounded. How did a cultivator who had ascended from the secondary lower realm have such outstanding talent? Chiu Hong was only an upper-grade Xiantian cultivator. As for Chiu Hong, he was not surprised at all. It would be strange if he did not have an innate rare phenomenon. Innate rare phenomenon, huh? Qin Nan nodded slightly. Cultivator, I'll be frank with you. With your talent, you should join our sect. If you're willing, I can make an exception and let you join the outer. The third elder suddenly recalled something and said, No, I'm asking you to join the inner disciples. The blue-clothed lady beside him opened her mouth wide when she heard this. Her eyes were filled with astonishment. Chapter 1587. Everyone knew that she was not an inner disciple of a peerless ruler's faction, but an inner disciple of a supreme Taoism faction. Once she succeeded, she would have a certain status in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. In addition to that, even a cultivator who had mastered the three extremities and possessed an immortal root would have to go through a series of trials to become an inner disciple. She had failed the trials 3 times in a row. It must be because of Brother Qiuhong. Even with an immortal root with rare phenomena, he could only become an outer disciple at most and get more cultivation resources. The woman soon collected her thoughts and realized what was going on. Not only was she not impressed by Qin Nan, she even felt a little resentful toward him. She had approached Qiuhong so that she could become an inner disciple, so that she could have a better future. But now, this guy called Qin Nan had beaten her to it. "Elder, I'm sorry, I won't be joining any faction for now." Qin Nan shook his head and rejected the offer without hesitation. You're not willing to join?" The third elder, the middle-aged man, and the woman in a blue outfit were stunned. They almost thought they had heard it wrong. Such an excellent opportunity was placed in front of him, yet he actually rejected it? Young cultivator, you should consider it carefully. There are some opportunities that you won't get again once you miss them. 09 Little say, net, the third elder's tone had become slightly cold. As the woman in a blue outfit had speculated, he was willing to let Qin Nan become an inner disciple because Qin Nan was Qiuhong's elder brother. He was also letting Qiuhong owe him a favor while recruiting a disciple. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. However, Qin Nan's attitude made him a little displeased. If it weren't for Qiuhong, why would he offer such a great offer? How dare you reject it? Even if you are Qiuhong's elder brother, you shouldn't be so ungrateful. Qiuhong's lips twitched before he said in a speechless tone, "Third elder, there's no need to say anything further. Even if it's a core disciple, Brother Nan won't agree so easily. He has already mastered the Tao 4 extremities." Stepping into the Tao realm at the Earth God realm was already a shocking matter, so it was not a good thing to announce it in advance. For extremities? The eyes of the third elder, the middle-aged man, and the blue-shirted woman were filled with disbelief. They never thought Qin Nan was actually a peerless genius. "I didn't expect little friend to hide so deeply. I hope you don't blame this old man for being blind." The third elder's coldness and displeasure vanished in an instant, replaced by an awkward expression. A peerless genius could easily become a core disciple of any supreme Taoism faction, let alone an inner disciple. "Elder, you're too polite." Qin Nan smiled and waved his hand. "Then we'll take our leave first." The third elder and the middle-aged man smiled awkwardly. Unwilling to stay any longer, they quickly left. Brother Nan, hello." The pretty face of the blue-clothed woman was also slightly pale as she bowed in a somewhat restrained manner. Her heart skipped a beat as she recalled the thoughts that she had in her mind. Luckily, she did not say anything. Otherwise, she would be in deep trouble today. Qin Nan glanced at her and nodded. "Qiuhong, what quests did you accept this time?" Qiuhong straightened his face and said, "Brother Nan, there are 3 quests in total. I haven't decided yet, please take a look at them." Saying this, he flicked his finger and transmitted a message into Qin Nan's mind. "The Supreme Elder under the South World Immortal Emperor, Master Wooding, is holding his 1000th birthday celebration. Attend his birthday celebration. You will be rewarded with 2 Heaven God pills." Long Xianling of the Heaven Illusionary Ancestors sect has achieved the Earth Immortal Realm and mastered the 4 extremities. He is taking a peerless ruler as his master, and is holding a master ceremony. Those who attend will be rewarded with a royal badge. Among the 3,000 small realms, a realm war is taking place in the non-sacred realm. Go and lend a hand. Qiuhong had carefully selected the 3 quests. Not only would those who attended the quests benefit from improving their cultivation, they would also be able to befriend the peerless geniuses and elders of the Shangxingtian small immortal realm or other small immortal realms. How impressive of this Long Xianling! Qin Nan's eyes flickered murderously when he saw the second quest. He did not expect Long Xianling to achieve the Earth Immortal Realm and master the four extremities so soon. Once he achieved the Heaven Immortal Realm, he would be referred to as a peerless ruler. I'll take the first quest. Qin Nan soon calmed his thoughts and said. The first quest was a great opportunity for him to see if the South World Immortal Emperor was the peerless ruler behind the South Heaven Gate. As for why he did not take the second quest, it was because his cultivation was still too weak. If he went there now, he would be like a lamb walking into a tiger's mouth. Brother Nan, I'll need 3 days to prepare for the quest. Please wait here for a while. Qiu Hong suddenly transmitted his voice after finishing the sentence. I've found the first part of the art of Tao seeking after joining the Sky Tai Huang sect. I used some tricks to teach it to you. Brother Nan, you can cultivate it if you're interested. Before Qin Nan could say anything, he handed him a scroll and left the room with the woman in a blue outfit. Art of Tao seeking? Qiu Hong, this fellow is really quite gutsy. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment. His heart was filled with warmth. The art of Tao seeking and the land of Tao seeking were the core of a supreme Taoism faction. Even a blessed immortal land was not considered the core of a faction. As such, every supreme Taoism faction would set up lots of traps to prevent their disciples from revealing the art of Tao seeking to others. It was a taboo too. Once it was exposed, the punishment was worse than betraying the faction. Even though he had no idea what Qiu Hong had done to teach him the art of Tao seeking, he could easily tell how risky it was. The slightest mistake would result in his death. I'll have to warn him next time. I can't let him do it again. Qin Nan murmured. He performed a hand seal to set up various forbidding auras in the room. He scanned the scroll with his divine sense too. He was not going to cultivate it. He only wanted to check it out. If the art of Tao seeking was really useful to him, he could join a supreme Taoism faction and find it himself. Dong. When he inspected the scroll with his divine sense, a deep chime of a bell that seemed to have originated from tens of thousands of years ago echoed in his mind. Chapter 1588. Sky Tai Huang. Chapter 1596. Tao of Cultivation. Sky Tai Huang, such a mystical art of Tao seeking. Qin Nan was startled. He stabilized the Tao crystal and took a closer look. The heavens and earth are too vast to be peeked at in one's lifetime. Every living thing in the world is nothing but an illusion. Without achieving the Tao realm, regardless of how outstanding your cultivation is or how strong your strength is, you are still an ordinary person. It's impossible for you to cultivate. This scripture is called the True Scriptures of Sky Tai Huang. What is sky? What is universe? What is Tai Huang? If the world is seen as an immortal glow, then the so-called sky. As Qin Nan read the words one by one, it felt like there was a supreme presence sitting in his mind, imparting Tao arts to him in a mystical manner. However, what Qiu Hong had given him was only the first chapter of the scriptures of Sky Tai Huang. The first chapter was a general outline, describing the meaning of Sky Tai Huang. Even so, Qin Nan's mind gradually sank into it and entered a state of selflessness. He was completely absorbed by it. After all, he had achieved the Tao realm and the greater success stage of the Tao realm. In some ways, he did not rely on comprehending the Tao realm, but it was a natural breakthrough instead. He was still a blank piece of paper when it came to understanding the Tao realm. Time passed slowly and soon a day had passed. Following this, Qin Nan's figure began to emit wisps of Tao glow, which caused the tables and chairs in the room to come alive, as if they were no longer inanimate objects. From this formless comprehension, his own use of the Tao light began to reach another level, which could be considered a significant breakthrough. However, Qin Nan did not notice a strange seal like a flame appearing on his forehead. It was absorbing the God force in his body. Some time later, black runes extended from the seal and spread toward Qin Nan's face, neck and chest. A faintly discernible will of the sky was quietly born. The rare phenomenon continued. 2 days later, the will of the sky that Qin Nan was emitting had reached a very strong level. Even the tables and chairs within a radius of 30 feet around him were affected by his will and began to decay. As expected of an art of Tao seeking, the secrets of the true scriptures of Sky Taihuang are too shocking. Qin Nan's eyes sprang open. His heart was still in awe. After 3 days of comprehending the scriptures, even with his martial talent, he had yet to fully understand the first chapter. He only had a rough idea about it. He also had a new understanding of the Tao realm. The Tao realm was referring to the Great Tao. The Great Tao could also be called the laws. It was the foundation of everything, even the heavens and earth. Without the Tao realm would be destroyed. He finally understood why the beast hide drawing had mentioned the difference between the greater success stage and the perfect stage of the Tao realm. The greater success stage of the Tao realm meant that the Tao glow in his body had reached a certain level. The perfected Tao realm was to establish one's own great Tao. Once the great Tao was formed and the laws were born, the cultivators themselves would no longer exist in this world. In a sense, the cultivator had become an independent self. There was no difference between them and the foundation of the world, and they were on equal footing. After mastering the true scripture of Sky Taihuang, it would also be the Tao of Sky Taihuang. However, the true scriptures of Sky Taihuang were invented by the 9 heavens supreme of the Sky Taihuang sect, or someone else. If I learn this scripture, the thought crossed Qin Nan's mind, but before he could ponder further, he suddenly sensed something. How did my body become like this? Qin Nan's expression changed slightly. Could it be that when he was comprehending the true scriptures of Sky Taihuang, the will in the unseen world had allowed his flesh to cultivate on its own? Qiuhong, oh Qiuhong, why didn't you tell me this earlier? Qin Nan couldn't help but smile bitterly. He was not interested in the Sky Taihuang Tao for the time being. He had no intention of practicing it either. Forget it, there's nothing I can do about it now. I'll just practice the Tao. Some time later, Qin Nan calmed his thoughts and shook his head. In a way, he was quite fated with the Sky Taihuang Tao too. It would not be a problem for him to practice it. Taking a deep breath, Qin Nan performed a strange hand seal with his hand. The seal was called the Sky Seal. It was the foundation of the true scriptures of Sky Taihuang. Whoosh! The will of Sky Taihuang that he was emitting immediately entered Qin Nan's body, as if it was being summoned. It was trying to merge with his God Force. Once it merged with the God Force, it would be the first step. Bang! In the nick of time, a terrifying aura burst out of Qin Nan's body, as if a 9 heavens supreme had woken up from a deep slumber. Is that? Qin Nan was startled. Following it, an unexpected change took place. The room he was in changed all of a sudden. It turned into an enormous, boundless blue world. The will of Sky Taihuang in his body was being absorbed by a force. It turned into Tao glows like swimming dragons. In the distance, there was an incomparably majestic, domineering, and heaven-defying figure whose true appearance could not be seen clearly. Piss off! The heaven-defying figure glanced down at the Sky Taihuang Tao glow and uttered coldly. The whole blue world began to tremble. Buzz! The Sky Taihuang Tao glow shook vigorously. Even though it was collapsing at a visible pace, it continued to gather as if it was unwilling to be destroyed. Chapter 1589. The mystery of the flesh. 2 thunderous flames burst out of the eyes of the law-defying figure, shattering the Sky Taihuang Tao glow into pieces. The blue world immediately ceased to exist. The blue seal on Qin Nan's forehead and the runes spreading across his body vanished too. Even the scroll was gone. It was as if nothing had happened from the very beginning. It was just a big dream. What just happened? Qin Nan was dumbfounded. The figure was the will of the divine god of battle. However, he had already merged with the divine battle spirit and the flesh of the divine god of battle. Why would the will of the divine god of battle show up? Did the divine god of battle leave it in his body? Besides, why would the will of the divine god of battle show up when he was practicing the true scriptures of Sky Taihuang? It wasn't that he wasn't good enough, but that he wasn't worthy. Did it mean the Tao of Sky Taihuang was not worthy of being his great Tao? Let's try again. Qin Nan cleared his mind and performed the sky seal once again. His body shuddered. An invisible force appeared deep inside him. He could not perform the last hand seal despite using all his god force. My flesh is stopping me from practicing the true scriptures of Sky Taihuang, which means. Qin Nan couldn't help but gasp. He initially thought the greatest secrets in his body were the divine battle spirit and the ownerless heaven pattern after merging with the flesh of the divine god of battle. However, it turned out that his flesh was still hiding some shocking secret. Perhaps the divine god of battle had left him the great Tao he had mastered, or something else. Perhaps everything will surface after I ascend as an immortal. Qin Nan had a vague feeling in his heart. Achieving the martial monarch realm, achieving the god realm, and ascending as an immortal. Every time he crossed the first two realms, it would bring about earth-shattering changes. This immortal ascension would most likely be the same. Brother Nan, are you done? If so, let's head out together. Chiu Hong transmitted his voice to Qin Nan. He and Qin Nan shared the same body in the past, thus they were somehow connected. They were able to communicate with each other as long as they were within a certain range. He's here. Qin Nan calmed his mind and stepped out of the room. In a supreme Taoism orthodoxy, it was quite impressive for an inner disciple to attend a banquet like this. As one of the 5 core disciples, Chiu Hong was naturally even more extraordinary. He was accompanied by 3 peak human immortal elders, 9 inner disciples, and dozens of outer disciples. Brother Nan, you've already mastered it, right? When Chiu Hong saw Qin Nan, he glanced around and sent a telepathic message to him in a low voice, as if he was a thief. I haven't even said anything yet, and you're already bringing it up. Qin Nan snapped and reprimanded the former mercilessly. After that, everyone stepped onto their flying treasures and hurried on with all their might. During this process, Qin Nan gradually learned more about Chiu Hong. He was surprised to find that this guy was a little similar to him. He had an inexplicable fondness for taming powerful demonic beasts and keeping them as mounts. To his surprise, even though Chiu Hong seemed to be quite reserved on the surface, he was actually quite cunning when it came to his actions. Qin Nan was left speechless after hearing the names of the methods. Time gradually passed. 2 days later, the group arrived at the South World Immortal Emperor's place. The South World Immortal Emperor was a peerless ruler who had made a name for himself a long time ago in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. His strength was immeasurable. Previously, he had suppressed 2 immortal emperors on his own. Rumors said that he had already achieved a higher cultivation level, and was only a step away from achieving the 9 heavens supreme realm. The blessed immortal land under his rule was called the 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm. The 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm was completely different than the Bliss Heaven Kingdom. It was located on the ground, surrounded by 99 magnificent immortal mountains, as if it had separated the heavens and earth into an independent world. The various cities and palaces were like stairs that extended upwards, all the way to the top at a height of 33,330 zhang. It was like a world with a strict hierarchy. The higher one's position was, the stronger the qi of the heaven realm, and the greater the benefits. Cultivator Chiu Hong, as there are too many people here to attend the birthday celebration, please forgive me for not being able to receive you in person. I've already prepared a place for you to stay, please come with me. As soon as Chiu Hong, Qin Nan, and the others arrived, an inner disciple of the peak heaven god realm quickly went up to them and invited them in with a gesture. Currently, the cities and palaces were emitting strange glows. Countless cultivators were going in and out of them, resulting in a lively scene. Master Wooding was a supreme elder under the South World Immortal Emperor's command. Even though he was only in the Earth Immortal realm, he had mastered the four extremities. He was very close to achieving the Peerless Ruler realm. The experts under the South World Immortal Emperor's command were all top-tier cultivators. Of course, his 1000th birthday this time was no small matter. It could be considered a grand occasion in the entire 10,000 Zhang celestial domain. Such a strong presence of the Heaven Realm Qi, Qin Nan exclaimed as he stepped into the residence. His body unleashed a great force to absorb the wisps of Heaven Realm Qi into his body. Master Wooding's palace was located on the third layer of the 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm. The accommodations he had arranged for the various factions were located on the third layer too. The Heaven Realm Qi in every place was as strong as an ocean. If you're not the peerless ruler behind the South Heaven Gate, I'll apologize in advance, Qin Nan mumbled in his heart. Although the white-blue flower had yet to show any signs of activity, he knew very well that the former's power must have quietly swept through the entire 10,000 Zhang celestial domain. It would not take long for the white-blue flower to be filled with joy. Let's cultivate for a while. Qin Nan and Qiu Hong exchanged glances with one another. They went into their respective rooms and sat down with their legs crossed. The Heaven Realm Qi was different from the clear sacred Qi. It contained a strong will of space, allowing one to comprehend the secrets of the power of space. Even though the power of space could only be comprehended after reaching the Peerless Ruler realm, it was still a good thing to absorb the Heaven Realm Qi. Meanwhile, the people of the Sanqing Ancient Sect, the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor Sect, and other factions led by peerless rulers had arrived at the 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm. The disciples of Master Wooding had also sent invitations. The birthday celebration would take place at night. Before that, the successor of Master Wooding was going to hold a banquet. Cultivation time often passed very quickly. Very soon, it was Yushur, and the banquet had already begun. Brother Nan, let's go together. We can take a look at the peerless geniuses of the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. Chapter 1590. At the genius gathering at the entrance of a 13-floored hall made of some kind of jade-like bones with a strong immortal intent, the cultivators of various factions entered the hall. When Qin Nan and Qiu Hong arrived, the hall was already crowded with over a few hundred cultivators. Cultivator Qiu Hong, it's been a while. Cultivator Qiu Hong, I've heard a lot about you. Qiu. In less than a breath's time after entering the place, several gazes were fixed on Qiu Hong's figure. Several cultivators approached him with smiles on their faces. As for Qin Nan, he was completely ignored. Go ahead, don't worry about me. Qin Nan transmitted his thought and found a corner. He secretly activated the golden eyes of the divine god of battle and scanned the crowd. At this moment, most of the cultivators in the main hall were inner sect disciples of various factions, as well as elders and other figures. There were only 3 peerless geniuses, including Qiu Hong. One of them was a woman in a black robe. Her body was emitting wisps of rotten black qi, concealing her appearance. No cultivators dared to come within a few zhang of her. The other person was a short-haired young man in a red robe. He was surrounded by many elders and disciples. His temperament was extraordinary. This short-haired young man must be the successor of Master Wooding, one of the 2 core disciples of the South World Immortal Emperor, Zhao Lijian. Qin Nan was startled. He activated the Dao crystal and merged the Dao glow into his eyes. A few moments later, he shook his head and withdrew his gaze. Zhao Lijian's body seemed to have been injected with some kind of force. His aura was like a thin layer of mist. He was unable to see through it no matter how hard he tried. He could only learn the truth if Zhao Lijian was involved. Tsk Chiu Hong, it's been a month. Why hasn't your cultivation improved at all? Right at this moment, a sarcastic voice sounded. Qin Nan and the cultivators followed the voice and saw a young man with an immortal aura and strange runes on his forehead. He was escorted by more than 10 cultivators. When he looked at Chiu Hong, his eyes were filled with killing intent. He had once fought with Chiu Hong over an item, but in the end, not only did Chiu Hong not give him face, but he even swindled him. He had always been brooding over it. The heaven illusionary ancestor sex Gao Yuanxian is here. A few cultivators couldn't help but ask. Gao Yuanxian was not a peerless genius. He had only mastered the 3 extremities and reached the heaven god realm. However, his father was a peerless ruler of the heaven illusionary ancestor sect. Besides, the peerless ruler had made a name for himself earlier than the South World immortal emperor. He was quite reputable in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. So its fellow cultivator Gao. As far as I know, you've been practicing the 3 extremities for more than 10 years, right? Why haven't you mastered the 4 extremities yet? Chiu Hong started his counterattack without batting an eyelid. Fellow Taoist Chiu, Brother Gao is still young. In a few more years, it shouldn't be difficult for him to step into the 4 extremes. Zhao Lijin said with a faint smile. He had a good relationship with Gao Yuanxian. At this time, he would naturally stand by Gao Yuanxian's side. The rest of the cultivators remained silent. They had no intention of getting involved in the competition between the peerless geniuses, as they were worried that they would be dragged into the mess. Brother Zhao, it's been a while. A pleasant voice came from outside the hall. He could only see Su Xianji, whom he had met once before, walking toward him in a white dress. A faint smile could be seen on her attractive face, resulting in a stunning sight. She has mastered the 4 extremities? Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment. The spacious immortal flesh did live up to its name. Su Xianji had actually become a peerless genius after achieving the heaven god realm. Xianji, you're here. Gao Yuanxian's face was filled with joy. He went up to Su Xianji without concealing it. Similar to the little Peng Emperor Wan Shao, he had been eyeing Su Xianji for a long time. Friend Qin Nan, you're here too? Su Xianji's eyes flickered with disgust. However, she soon saw Qin Nan's figure. Her eyes glittered as she slowly approached him. A pleasant breeze blew at Qin Nan's figure. After reaching the 4 extremities, not only did her appearance become even more alluring, her body also emitted a strange fragrance that would make people feel very good after smelling it. Gao Yuanxian's figure stiffened. He turned around and looked at Qin Nan. Zhao Jianli and the rest of the cultivators glanced at Qin Nan too. Their eyes flickered with astonishment. Being able to get the famous Su Xianji to approach him, was this Qin Nan, who came here together with Chiu Hong, someone extraordinary too? I'm here with Chiu Hong too. Qin Nan said with a calm smile. Is that so? Su Xianji's eyes flickered cunningly. She moved her lips closer to Qin Nan's ear and transmitted her voice. You've been hiding your strength too well. You even killed the underworld prince. She had asked the little Pring Emperor Wan Shao about the death of the underworld prince. She immediately came up with a speculation after hearing the latter's unusual silence. That Qin Nan was the Qin Nan she knew. Friend Qin Nan, right? May I know which faction you're from, and who's your master? Gao Yuanxian was infuriated when he saw Su Xianji behaving like a little woman. He asked calmly. He had known Su Xianji for a long time, yet she had never treated him with such an attitude before. He could not wait to see who this Qin Nan who had shown up out of nowhere was. Gao Yuanxian, you better behave yourself. If you dare to offend my brother, I'm going to fall out with you. Chiu Hong's expression turned cold. He would not fall out with Gao Yuanxian if he was trying to pick a fight with him, but he would go all out when Qin Nan was involved. Even though Brother Qin Nan's cultivation, identity, and background were a lot stronger than his, he would not allow anyone to pick on Qin Nan. It was his only bottom line. He's just a nameless cultivator. Qin Nan shook his head and said calmly, "Fall out with me? I'll be waiting." Gao Yuanxian showed no sign of weakness. His gaze toward Qin Nan was filled with disdain. He was now sure that this Qin Nan was not someone important. Otherwise, as Chiu Hong's brother, his name would have spread far and wide by now. Qin Nan was only here because of Chiu Hong. "Xianji, it's been more than a month since we last met. Why don't we go somewhere and have a drink?" Gao Yuanxian smiled and invited her with a gesture. "Brother Gao, we're already familiar with one another. There's no need to catch up. It's been a while since I last met my friend Qin Nan. I'll have a good chat with him here." Chapter 1591. Skill to amaze. The Forshi was very curious about Qin Nan. It was not easy for a cultivator in the secondary lower realm to achieve the four extremities. Besides, she had a feeling that Qin Nan was not as simple as he seemed to be, since he was able to claim the second immortal badge of ascension from Empress Feiyue. It was very likely that this Qin Nan was Empress Feiyue's successor. If that was the case, it would most likely shake the entire Shangxingtian small immortal realm, or even the entire Nine Heavens immortal realm. "You want to talk to him?" Gao Yuanxian's face stiffened. "Qin Nan, a woman like Su Xianji is not someone, an ordinary person like you can covet. Find an excuse for me to leave later. Otherwise, even if you are Big Brother Chiu Hong, I can still make you suffer a fate worse than death." Gao Yuanxian looked at Qin Nan with cold eyes. "Make me wish I was dead?" Qin Nan was amused. This Gao Yuanxian and little Ping Emperor Wan Shao were like scoundrels of the same tribe. They were used to doing whatever they wanted, yet they were willing to threaten someone just because of a small matter. "Friend Qin Nan, have I caused you trouble again?" Su Xianji sensed the subtle atmosphere. Her soft voice carried a tinge of playfulness. "I can't blame you for this. I can only say that they think I'm easy to bully." Qin Nan shook his head and looked straight at Gao Yuanxian. Scram. He didn't want to say anything unnecessary. If this person still didn't give up, then he would directly attack. You're telling me to scram?" Gao Yuanxian's eyes narrowed in disbelief. He was the son of an ancient peerless ruler. Many people treated him with respect, including the Heaven Immortals. Even Chiu Hong, who had clashed with him, did not ask him to leave. "You are courting death." Gao Yuanxian was infuriated. He unleashed the Heaven God force in his body, preparing to execute his killing blow. "Brother Gao, if there's anything, we can talk about it." Just at this critical moment, a palm pressed down on Gao Yuanxian's shoulder. An invisible force calmed Gao Yuanxian's aura. The one who attacked was Zhao Lijian. Under normal circumstances, no one in the 10,000 Zhang celestial region was allowed to use force, not to mention now that the birthday banquet was about to begin. If he really made a move, Gao Yuanxian would be at a disadvantage. "Brother Zhao, this person is truly too arrogant." Just now, Gao Yuanxian's anger had yet to subside. He told the latter everything that had happened earlier through voice transmission. "How dare you ask you to scram? Leave this matter to me." A cold light flashed across Zhao Lijian's eyes as a jade wine cup appeared in his hand out of nowhere. "So it's Chiu Hong's big brother. Sorry for the disrespect. It's our first time meeting. Let's keep in touch in the future. Let me toast you." Zhao Lijian smiled faintly and raised his cup. Not a single drop of water leaked out of his speech. Su Xianji, the woman in a black robe, and many experts in the hall immediately noticed that Zhao Lijian had inserted a formidable force into the cup. If they were to touch the cups, the force would immediately explode and penetrate Qin Nan's body without any warning. Zhao Lijian, Chiu Hong's eyes immediately emitted two immortal glows. The god force in his body rose to its peak as he prepared to execute a shocking move. "I'll handle it myself," Qin Nan transmitted his voice. He raised his cup and said with a smile, "Cultivator Zhao is being too courteous. We should keep in touch if we have the chance." He was interested to see what kind of immortal art Zhao Lijian had practiced. It was exactly what he wanted now that the man had shown up. "Humph, let's see how you're going to die." Gao Yuanxian uttered a hollow laugh in his heart. Qin Nan, little, even though Su Xianji was aware of Qin Nan's outstanding cultivation, she subconsciously reminded him, as she had never seen him in action before. However, before she could finish her words, the two jade wine cups lightly clinked against each other under the attentive gazes of the crowd. Bang! At that instant, a shocking force burst out from deep inside Qin Nan's body. It was going to tear his organs apart like a ferocious beast. However, before the force could explode, it was suppressed by a terrifying force. Zhao Lijian's cultivation was in the third layer heaven god realm. He could easily handle the little trick by unleashing his god force. "It's your turn." Qin Nan moved his finger slightly. The smile on Zhao Lijian's face froze. He could only feel an immortal executing saber slashing at him from the distance. That terrifying saber intent made his hair stand on end, and he felt a sense of danger. Suppress. Facing such a sudden change, Zhao Lijian could not care less and uttered a groan as a powerful force was unleashed from his body, forming a formation to resist the force. Bang bang bang! A series of explosions immediately rang out from his body. His figure also retreated 4 steps in a row before he could stabilize himself. He was knocked back? The experts in the hall were astounded. Even the mysterious woman in a black robe raised her head and fixed her gaze on Qin Nan. "How is this possible?" Gao Yuanxin's face was filled with disbelief. Zhao Lijian was a peerless genius. This Qin Nan was only a peak earth god. How did he manage to knock Zhao Lijian back? "Cultivator Zhao, Cultivator Gao, I forgot to introduce. Brother Nan has mastered the 4 extremities too." Qiu Hong chuckled coldly. With Zhao Lijian's cultivation, wasn't he asking for trouble by offering a toast to Qin Nan? "He has mastered the 4 extremities?" The experts in the hall were dumbfounded. No one would have thought the ordinary-looking young man was a peerless genius too. A peerless genius? Gao Yuanxian's figure shuddered. He was astounded, yet relieved at the same time. If he really tried to attack Qin Nan, not only would he be breaking the rules, he would be taught a lesson by Qin Nan too. So Cultivator Qin is a peerless genius too. I'm sorry I didn't notice it before. Zhao Lijian's expression shifted, before he wore a calm smile and said, "If that's the case, I should have another drink with Brother Qin." Even though Qin Nan's identity had exceeded his expectations, it was not enough for him to be intimidated. He was knocked a few steps back by Qin Nan in front of the crowd. He had no choice but to make his move again. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a disgrace to him? "Gao Yuanxian, it seems like the lesson I taught you last time wasn't enough. You dare to harass Xianji again." Chapter 1592. The birthday feast took place. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao and 2 old men in the peak human immortal realm walked into the hall. Wan Shao wore an icy expression. Ever since he almost became Qin Nan's mount, he had been in a terrible mood for the past few days. On the way here, he heard from other cultivators that Gao Yuanxian was here. Naturally, he didn't have a pleasant expression. He had already warned Gao Yuanxian not to come within 100 zhang of Su Xianji. "Cultivator Wan Shao! Cultivator Wan Shao!" Zhao Lijian immediately withdrew his aura. With a face full of smiles, he and the other experts in the hall went forward to welcome them. Gao Yuanxian was startled when he saw the newcomers. Even though the golden-winged Pring Emperor was not as strong as his father, he was still a peerless ruler. Besides, Wan Shao was a peerless genius. In simpler words, He dared to challenge Qiu Hong, but he did not have the confidence to challenge Wan Shao. As he was thinking of a plan, his eyes flickered as a thought crossed his mind. He transmitted his voice, "Wan Shao, it's not what you think." Wan Shao replied coldly, "If it's not what I think, what else could it be?" Gao Yuanxian pretended to be furious and said, "A cultivator kept sticking close to Xianji." Xianji was very angry, but she couldn't say it out loud. "I asked him to leave, but he didn't do anything." He knew Wan Shao would not tolerate even a grain of sand in his eyes. He could easily convince Wan Shao to pick on Qin Nan by making up a story. "Who's there? Who dares to harass Xianji?" Wan Zhao's expression turned even colder. He glanced forward. This time, he did not transmit his voice. Instead, he let his voice resound throughout the entire palace. "This is going to be interesting," the experts in the hall murmured. Almost every cultivator in the Shangxingtian's small immortal realm knew Little Peng Emperor Wan Shao was fond of Su Xianji. Gao Yuanxian and Zhao Lijian exchanged glances with one another. The grins on their faces widened. They could easily guess what was going to happen next. Little Peng Emperor Wan Shao was surely going to pick on Qin Nan. "Qin Nan? Why are you here?" However, when Wan Zhao's gaze landed on Qin Nan, the coldness on his face completely vanished. His expression shifted. Over the past few days, the scene of Qin Nan stepping on it and wanting to take it as a mount was still clearly etched in its mind. It was like a nightmare that it could never forget. "Can't I appear here?" Qin Nan's face was expressionless, and his body emitted an invisible aura. This Wan Shao just had to show up when Zhao Lijian was about to make his move. It completely messed up Zhao Lijian's plan. Ugh! Wan Shao was stunned. He did not know what to say. However, his expression and words stunned the experts, including Gao Yuanxian and Zhao Lijian. Why did the Little Peng Emperor Wan Shao lose his aura as if he had stumbled into his natural enemy after encountering Qin Nan? "Are you Qin Nan? You killed the underworld prince and attacked our young master. You even tried to take our young master as your..." The two peak human immortals realized something was not right. They switched the topic murderously. "We won't forgive you." The others might be clueless, but the factions under the golden-winged Peng Emperor had long listed Qin Nan as their greatest enemy. Any disciple or elder that stumbled into him would have to attack him. He killed the underworld prince? The experts in the hall were astounded. The woman in the black robe seemed to have received a great shock too. She raised her head, revealing her pitch-black eyes. Gao Yuanxian and Zhao Lijian were no exception either. It was extremely difficult for a peerless genius to be born. Normally, even if two peerless geniuses were to fight one another, it was unlikely that they would kill one another. Most importantly, it was extremely difficult to determine who was stronger between two peerless geniuses. It was impossible to tell who was stronger. If Qin Nan was able to kill the underworld prince, didn't that mean his strength had surpassed ordinary peerless geniuses? Or perhaps, he had probed the threshold of the Dao realm? "Don't waste your time here." Qin Nan stared at Wan Shao and said, "Don't let me see you again. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape. You will become my mount." Once these words were spoken, the hearts of the people present were once again fiercely impacted. This Qin Nan was planning to recruit the Little Peng Emperor Wan Shao as his mount? Was he out of his mind? "Do you really think you can recruit me as your mount? I'm telling you, I'll surely kill you next time. Let's go." Little Peng Emperor Wan Zhao's eyes flickered with anger. He groaned and left the palace with the two peak human immortals. Even though the sealing force that Qin Nan had placed in his body had been nullified, he would only embarrass himself if he stayed any longer. If Qin Nan proposed a duel or something, he would not be able to handle it. He's leaving just like that? Some of the experts subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. No matter how they looked at it, Wan Shao did not seem confident at all. It felt like he was running away with his tail between his legs. Wan Zhao's reaction when he was about to be recruited as Qin Nan's mount could only mean one thing. Wan Zhao was extremely intimidated by Qin Nan. He had no confidence in him at all. Not many people in the entire Shangxingtian small immortal realm are able to intimidate the little Pring Emperor Wan Zhao to such an extent. Su Xianji's eyes flickered as she transmitted her voice. Friend Qin Nan, pardon me for asking, but are you Empress Feiyue's successor? The Copper Mirror's successor? Qin Nan was startled before he burst out laughing. Don't be ridiculous, there's no way I'm her successor. With the Copper Mirror's icy personality, it would be a torture for anyone to be her successor. Cultivator Zhao, I didn't expect this to happen. Why don't we have a toast? Qin Nan raised his cup once again. Friend Qin Nan, I was only drinking to test you, but now that I've witnessed your capabilities, there's no need for that. Zhao Lijian's figure shuddered, but he quickly collected his thoughts and said with a calm smile, I'm sorry for what I did, I hope Cultivator Qin can forgive me. He had always believed that he should let go when it was time to do so. He could not afford to offend a peerless genius like Qin Nan over something so insignificant. Gao Yuanxian, on the other hand, clenched his teeth and remained silent. All right then. Chapter 1593. The guests arrived next, the banquet continued. Qin Nan had become the center of attention after the incident. The elders and geniuses of various factions came to propose a toast to him. Qin Nan was not in the mood, yet he still accepted the toast. Time passed quickly, and soon it was Su Shi. The palaces of various sizes in the 10,000 zhang heaven realm began to glow brilliantly. From afar, it looked like they were forming patterns as if they were in a dream. On top of it, it felt like a mysterious mouth had opened deep inside the 10,000 zhang heaven realm. The qi of the heaven realm pouring out from it was 5 times stronger than before. The prices of the artifacts and immortal arts that were normally on sale were lowered. The cultivators were overjoyed. Master Wooding's birthday feast had officially begun. Fellow cultivators, the feast will come to an end here. Let's go and congratulate our master. Zhao Lijian brought his fists together facing the crowd and led the crowd out of the hall. The feast was held in the most magnificent hall in the 3rd layer of the 10,000 zhang heaven realm. The hall was emitting an immortal glow with an extraordinary aura, like an ancient beast crawling on the ground. At the entrance of the hall, 30 disciples stood on both sides. All of them wore bright red robes, and they were respectfully welcoming the cultivators. The Sanqing Ancient Sect is here. The Heaven Illusionary Ancestor Sect is here. The Sky Taiwang Sect is here. Unlike the others, when the people of the 3 Supreme Taoism factions entered the hall, the disciples immediately yelled at the top of their lungs. In the Shangxingtian small immortal realm, even a peerless genius would not receive such treatment when attending a feast like Master Wooding's. Only a peerless ruler or a supreme Taoism faction would attend the feast in person. So many cultivators are here? Qin Nan was standing beside Qiu Hong. He was astounded when he saw the scene before him. The hall covered an area with a circumference of 5,000 zhang. The hall was surrounded by a few hundred different kinds of immortal qi. Pleasant music echoed in every corner. There were a total of 1,000 tables and chairs made of some kind of immortal stone, and they were emitting dense immortal energy. They were arranged in an orderly manner, as if they were some kind of formation. Now that the birthday banquet had just begun, more than half of the 1,000 tables and chairs were already filled with thousands of cultivators. Furthermore, every cultivator's aura was very powerful. Brother Nan, that old man is an inner elder of the Sanqing Ancient Sect. Beside him is the inner sect elder of the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor Sect, and, after Qiu Hong took his seat, he sent a message to Qin Nan with his divine sense and introduced the people with extraordinary identities to him. Qin Nan nodded slightly and activated his golden eyes of the god of war to scan the area. He was able to learn more about the Shangxingtian's small immortal realm through the grand occasion. Ding Tianqi is here. Right at this moment, a wave of commotion suddenly arose within the exceedingly bustling hall, and the gazes of many people shot over in unison. A young man over a zhang tall with bronze-colored skin and purple runes on his face walked into the hall. The places he passed by would fall silent for a few breaths, as if his presence was intimidating the cultivators. His eyes were not focused at all, as if he did not notice the thousands of cultivators at the scene. He immediately found an empty table and sat down. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. There was something strange about this Ding Tianqi's body. He did not conceal his aura, yet when Qin Nan looked at him with his eye technique, it felt like he was looking into an abyss. Ding Tianqi, even though he and Zhao Lijian are considered the two core disciples of the South World Immortal Emperor, he has already probed the door of the Dao realm. In the entire Shangxingtian small immortal realm, any peerless genius below the human immortal realm is considered one of the best. A pleasant scent swept Qin Nan's figure. Su Xianji sat beside Qin Nan from another table and said with glittering eyes, however, the man was born with a flaw. Qin Nan was startled. Flaw? Su Xianji said softly. According to the rumors, he acquired a great succession in the past, but his soul suffered a great blow, resulting in a breakdown of his personality. He likes to fight and isn't good at talking. On top of that, he has to destroy his opponent's dantian every time he fights. He even destroyed Zhao Lijian's dantian once when he was fighting him. Look at Zhao Lijian now, he won't even bother with him. Qin Nan turned his head around, and as Su Xianji had mentioned, Zhao Lijian did not come within 300 zhang of Ding Tianqi even though he was moving among the crowd. Even some of the authorities were completely ignored. This Qin Nan little Pring Emperor Wan Shao and Gao Yuanxian's faces sank when they saw the scene. They clenched their fists. They both had the same feeling. At this rate, Su Xianji would most likely be conquered by Qin Nan. Meanwhile, the Heaven Immortal Realm experts under the South World Immortal Emperor's command, and the Heaven Immortals of other factions entered the hall. Even though these Heaven Immortals were incomparable to peerless rulers, they were still considered the strongest experts in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm, thus they possessed an extraordinary status. Following it, the immortal music in the hall suddenly turned louder. An old man with white hair and a pair of eyes like a pair of heaven-defying swords in a red dragon robe appeared at the front of the hall. Fellow cultivators and elders, thank you for coming all the way here to attend my 1,000-year-old birthday feast. I'm very grateful. Many cultivators have come this time. I hope you don't blame me for not being able to receive you in person. However, I won't turn anyone away today. I won't leave until I'm drunk. The old man's voice was like a great bell. He was the main character of the feast, Master Wooding. A familiar aura among the crowd. Qin Nan squinted. He did not sense it from Zhao Lijian and Ding Tianqi, but he had sensed it from Master Wooding. It was the aura that left a deep impression in his mind. Wooding, enough with the nonsense, let's end the ceremony at once. I'm going to drink until you won't forget it for the rest of your life. An old man with eagle-like eyes at the table of the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect said with a magnificent aura. He was an expert in the peak Heaven Immortal Realm. Haha, since Elder Shenying has spoken, how could I possibly disobey? Master Wooding burst out laughing and sat at the main table. Chapter 1594. Night God Flower. The eyes of many cultivators flickered upon hearing the words. They had traveled a long way to attend the birthday feast, just so they could perform well in front of the crowd. It would be best if Master Wooding would remember their kindness. Even if they did not, it would be more than enough to leave a deep impression on him. The Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect presents Master Wooding with an immortal transformation pill. We wish Master Wooding a long life and achieve great success in achieving the 9 heavens, supreme realm. Elder Shenying was the first to step forward. The experts and geniuses of many factions were startled. The immortal transformation pill was an extremely rare pill. It was extremely useful for Earth immortal realm cultivators. It would allow their immortal force to evolve, allowing them to achieve the heaven immortal realm sooner. Elder Shenying, how thoughtful of you! Elder Wooding wore a joyful look. Everyone could tell that he was very satisfied with the gift. The Sanqing ancient sect presents Master Wooding with a night god flower. We wish Master Wooding a long life and a great improvement in his cultivation. We hope he will be conferred the title of 9 Heavens Supreme. The Sky Taihuang sect presents Master Wooding with a great undertaking heaven fruit. We wish Master Wooding to achieve great success in achieving great success. The other 2 Supreme Taoism factions presented their gifts too. Even though their gifts were not as valuable as the immortal transformation fruit, they were still rare and valuable. Many cultivators were astounded by them. In the Shangxingtian small immortal realm, the difference between any faction and the 3 Supreme Taoism factions was just too huge. It was obvious just from the gifts they presented. Heaven Immortal Sanshui, representing Immortal Emperor Wunlan, presents Master Wooding with an ancient map. We wish Master Wooding a long life. Daoist Si Wang, representing Immortal Emperor Thorn, presents Master Wooding with a Dragon Phoenix Immortal Wood. We wish Master Wooding. Heaven Immortal Xuanhua, representing Immortal Emperor Lin Dong, presents Master Wooding. It was the turn of the factions led by peerless rulers. Even though nothing happened during the process, Qin Nan was even more astounded as he watched the gift. Each of the artifacts was quite extraordinary. If he had all of them, he could most likely achieve the peak heaven god realm and master all kinds of mystical moves. It's so cool to hold such a birthday banquet. When I'm 1,000 years old, I can hold one too. Qin Nan said in his heart. The battle between the peerless rulers soon ended. Some famous rogue cultivators began to offer their gift. What was different from the previous ones was that although their gifts were of lower value, they were ingenious. Among them, there were quite a few strange objects that caused the eyes of the people present to light up. Taoist Master Wu Ding also clapped and praised. The gift-giving ceremony is about to end. The South World Immortal King should be appearing soon. Qin Nan scanned the crowd while the God Force and the Tao Crystal in his body were activated simultaneously. Since Master Wooding was a subordinate of the South World Immortal Emperor, the latter would surely show up. As Qin Nan had expected, when the last cultivator finished giving his gift, a magnificent blue immortal glow landed in the hall as if it had traveled across time and space. The immortal glow shuddered and gathered. In the end, it turned into an illusionary figure with a terrifying aura. The whole hall shuddered slightly. The hearts of the cultivators, both the heaven immortals and the earth gods, sank as if a huge rock was pressing down on them. It was the aura of a peerless ruler. Greetings, Senior South World. Master Wooding, Zhao Lijian, and the elders under the South World Immortal Emperor's command immediately rose to their feet and brought their fists together. Wooding, you're the birthday boy today, there's no need to bow to me. The illusionary figure waved his hand and fired a blue ray to stop Master Wooding from clenching his fists. He said with a smile, "You're finally 1,000 years old. Don't slack off, you should become a peerless ruler soon. You can have this supreme weapon." The illusionary figure flicked his finger. A 3-zhang long mirror with a crystalline appearance floated in the air. A faint aura was emitted from the mirror, causing the immortal intent in the hall to freeze. Supreme weapon? At that instant, everyone was astounded, including the elders of the 3 Supreme Taoism factions. It was a supreme weapon. Even some of the peerless rulers only had a few of them. And now, the South World Immortal Emperor was giving it away as a gift. The South World Immortal Emperor is indeed an ancient immortal emperor. His strength is most likely only second to Empress Feiyue. Some of the cultivators could not help but have the same thought. This South World Immortal Emperor is indeed the peerless ruler behind the South Heaven Gate. Qin Nan completely ignored the supreme weapon. His eyes flickered with an icy murderous intent. He was only speculating before, but after seeing the South World Immortal Emperor's will and the blue glow, he was certain of it. Both the nature of its power and its aura were exactly the same as the South Heaven Gate. Senior South World, this. Master Wooding did not expect the South World Immortal Emperor to be so generous. There's no need to say anything else. I won't be taking part in the feast. You should spend some time with the cultivators. The illusionary figure wore a calm smile as his figure dissipated. His gaze unintentionally scanned the crowd. He paused slightly when his gaze landed on Qin Nan's figure. Huh. The illusionary figure seemed to be aware of something, yet before he could use his powerful eye technique, his figure vanished into thin air. The aura lingering in the hall dissipated too. Li Jian, let's proceed to the second ritual. Master Wooding collected his thoughts. He put the supreme weapon away and said with a smile. Got it, Master. Zhao Li Jian collected his thoughts and brought his fists together. Fellow cultivators, thank you for coming all the way here to attend Master's birthday feast. Now we shall. The second ritual did not have a specific name. In simpler words, it was to give something to the cultivators. I haven't given my gift yet. Chapter 1595. The Familiar Saber, Ding Tianqi? Many of the people in the crowd were astonished. They were well aware of what had happened to Ding Tianqi. Judging from his behavior in the past, he was not good at interacting with others. Why would he give Qin Nan a gift today? Could it be that his consciousness is slowly recovering? A thought crossed Zhao Lijian's mind. He frowned. After Ding Tianqi's consciousness was damaged, he had received a lot of help from the South World Immortal Emperor's faction. If Ding Tianqi was recovering, it would not be a good thing for him. Just as he was about to say something to stop Ding Tianqi with his words, Sage Wooding, who was seated at the head table, asked curiously, Tianqi, what are you preparing to give me? In addition to him, many people reacted the same way too. Ding Tianqi rose to his feet and walked forward like a wild beast. He took out a black saber and said in a muffled voice, Elder Wooding, this black saber is not bad, I'll give it to you. He handed the black saber to Qin Nan without showing any courtesy, like a child giving something to someone. He did not say anything to congratulate Qin Nan either. Zhao Lijian was overjoyed, yet his expression darkened slightly as he snapped, Ding Tianqi, why aren't you taking the saber back, such an ordinary saber? Many among the crowd shook their heads too. There was nothing special about the black saber's aura. Its material was extremely ordinary too. It could not even be considered a god weapon. It was at most a powerful monarch weapon. The saber. Qin Nan's eyes widened. Wait a second, there's something strange about the black saber. Before Zhao Lijian could finish, Master Wooding suddenly spoke. He took a closer look at the saber and flicked his finger, inserting his immortal intent into it. Buzz. It was as if the black saber had come alive, emitting a brilliant glow with a shocking murderous intent. Even the ground of the hall was covered in a thin layer of frost. The saber has merged with a soul, and it contains a shocking will too. If it's reforged, it will surely be an extraordinary immortal weapon. Not bad, not bad. Master Wooding was satisfied. A powerful immortal artifact was nothing to him, but given Ding Tianqi's current state, it was already quite good that he could take out such an item. Zhao Lijian and the rest of the cultivators were unaware that the saber was hiding such a mystical ability, thus no one uttered a single word. Only the light in his eyes flickered. Tianqi, go back to your position. Now, let's move on to the second, Taoist Wooding said. Senior Wooding, I have a request. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Zhao Lijian and many cultivators frowned. Who would be so reckless to interrupt the birthday feast at such a time? When they turned their heads to look, they were all stunned. The person who spoke was Qin Nan. Brother Nan Yu Chiu Hong's face was filled with confusion. Su Xianji, who was not far away, also had a puzzled expression. Who are you? Taoist Wooding was expressionless. He was slightly displeased after being interrupted all of a sudden. If it weren't for the birthday feast, with over a few thousand cultivators nearby, he would have attacked right away. Zhao Lijian immediately transmitted his voice and told Taoist Wooding everything he knew about Qin Nan. So it's cultivator Qin Nan, what's the matter? Just say it. Taoist Wooding's expression calmed down slightly. He was quite patient toward a peerless genius. Senior Wooding, I was hoping that you can give me the saber. Qin Nan organized his thoughts and said sternly, the saber is the weapon of a brother of mine who has been through thick and thin with me. It never leaves his side. Something must have happened since it has shown up here. If Senior is willing, I'll remember your kindness and repay you tenfold in the future. He already recognized the saber when Ding Tianqi took it out. It was the black saber that his senior brother, Tang Qingshan, used. In addition to it, the black saber was actually Tang Qingshan's beloved. It was the reason why he took the initiative to step forward. As for how Ding Tianqi obtained the black saber, he would ask him about it once he got it. You're asking for the saber? Taoist Wooding's expression that had just calmed down became cold again. The cultivators present looked at each other and did not make a sound. Qin Nan, I didn't expect you to do something so stupid. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao and Gao Yuanxian in the distance were startled. Even Zhao Lijian's eyes flickered. It was currently Taoist Wooding's 1,000-year-old birthday feast. The black saber was Ding Tianqi's gift to Taoist Wooding. Who would ask for the gift straight away? Qin Nan's action would surely offend Taoist Wooding. Taoist Wooding was no ordinary heaven immortal. The former had mastered the four extremities. He was a peerless ruler after achieving the peak heaven immortal realm. In terms of status, he was significantly higher than Qin Nan. Senior Wooding, Brother Nan is too greedy, please don't be mad. I hope Senior Wooding can lend Brother Nan a hand, I'll be very grateful. Chiu Hong rose to his feet without hesitation. Senior Wooding, I don't think it's a good idea, but it also shows that friend Qin Nan is a righteous person. If Senior Wooding is willing to give the saber to him, it'll make a great story. Su Xianji's eyes glittered as she spoke in a gentle voice. Thanks. Qin Nan's heart was filled with warmth. He knew what his action meant. The fact that the two had stepped forward at a time like this was the greatest support for him. Three peerless geniuses. The cultivators watched the scene with great interest. They were eager to see what would happen in the end. Xianji is willing to risk offending Taoist Wooding just to help him. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao and Gao Yuanxian's expressions sank. Master, what should we do now? Zhao Lijian asked softly. Taoist Wooding remained expressionless. He was feeling uncomfortable, but apart from Qin Nan, Chiu Hong and Su Xianji were pleading on his behalf too. It would not be a good idea if he still rejected the offer. He had to give face to the three peerless geniuses. What's more, this was just an ordinary black saber. However, if he really gave it to Qin Nan, what would the other cultivators think? Tianqi, you're the one who gave the saber to me. Do you think I should give it to Qin Nan? Chapter 1596. The Battle of the Limelight. Chapter 1604. The Battle of the Limelight. A single sentence was enough to remove him from the limelight. It did not matter if he was going to give the saber to him in the end. Qin Nan, Chiu Hong, Su Xianji, and the rest of the crowd immediately focused their attention on Ding Tianqi. They were eager to hear his decision. Ding Tianqi's unfocused eyes glanced at Qin Nan and said, "It's my gift to Elder Wooding, how can I give it to you?" However, he suddenly switched the topic in the middle of the sentence with a shocking battle intent. "I heard that your cultivation is quite impressive. I can suppress my cultivation to the third layer heaven god realm. If you can fight me for 1,000 breaths without losing the duel, I'll give you the saber." Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Gao Yuanxian, and the rest of the cultivators wore a mocking look upon hearing this. The former, in particular, was gloating over Qin Nan's misfortune. Everyone knew that Ding Tianqi had probed the threshold of the Dao realm. He was only a short distance away from becoming a legendary, exceptional genius. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao also knew that Qin Nan had probed the threshold of the Dao realm. It was very likely that he had achieved the minor success stage of the Dao realm. However, Ding Tianqi only suppressed his cultivation to the third layer heaven god realm. How could Qin Nan, who had achieved the peak earth god realm, possibly stand a chance against him? Besides, with Ding Tianqi's quirk, if Qin Nan dared to accept the challenge, not only would he lose the duel, his dantian would be destroyed too. It was not a big deal if his dantian was destroyed, as it would be easily repaired. However, there were so many elders and experts from various factions here. How embarrassing would it be if his dantian was destroyed? Master Wooding was slightly displeased by Ding Tianqi's words, but he still turned to Qin Nan and said, "Young cultivator, you heard it too. It's up to you now." Qiu Hong said with a startled expression, "Brother Nan." Su Xianji transmitted her voice too, "Qin Nan, why don't you take a step back? We'll figure out a way in the future." In their eyes, Qin Nan would be at a disadvantage if he fought with Ding Tianqi now. There was no need for him to do so. "Before we talk about this, I want to ask you a question. How did you obtain this black saber?" Qin Nan's expression remained unchanged. "I bought it from another cultivator. Are you going to fight me or not?" Ding Tianqi's expression became impatient. He did not have that much patience. "I promise you." Qin Nan heaved a sigh of relief and nodded without hesitation. As long as there was no news of Tang Qingshan's death, it meant that there was still hope. As for exchanging blows, it was completely fine. He liked exchanging blows with geniuses in the first place. He actually agreed? The experts at the scene were all shocked. Originally, they thought that Qin Nan would never agree. "Qin Nan, let's see how you're going to deal with this." Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao and Gao Yuanxian wore disdainful looks. They were confident that Qin Nan's dantian would be destroyed within 500 breaths, resulting in a great humiliation, let alone 1,000 breaths. Qiu Hong opened his mouth. He wanted to say something, yet he fell silent when he saw Qin Nan's expression. "Qin Nan, you're being a little reckless, but who knows, you might be able to give me a surprise?" Su Xianji thought as she glanced at Qin Nan's side profile. She could not help but admit that a man who was loyal to his friends and was willing to do such a thing for his brother was extremely charming. However, if he were to lose, the charm would be gone for good. "Haha, Wooding, this kind of birthday feast is more interesting." "What's so interesting about a boring ceremony?" Elder Shen Ying laughed heartily. Many heaven immortals and earth immortals nodded too. A duel between two peerless geniuses was indeed very interesting. Master Wooding nodded and said with a calm smile, "Fine, I'll let you two have a good fight here." He flung his sleeves, unleashing a strong immortal force. It formed an immortal barrier covering an area with a circumference of over 1,000 zhang in front of the hall. "I'll set another rule for you. Once you leave the barrier, you'll lose the duel. You won't be able to fight anymore." After all, it was his birthday feast. There was no way he would allow them to unleash their full potential, especially if Ding Tianqi was planning to kill Qin Nan after he was satisfied with the fight. "Qin Nan, come and fight me." Ding Tianqi's eyes suddenly focused as a magnificent glow burst out from his body. He stepped into the air and entered the domain. As you wish. Qin Nan did not hold back either. His eyes were engulfed in golden flames as he unleashed his aura and stepped into the cave. However, in comparison, there was an obvious difference between his aura and Ding Tianqi's. There was a huge difference between the god force of an earth god and a heaven god. Besides, Qin Nan was a peak earth god and a third-layer heaven god. Roar! Ding Tianqi's aura changed tremendously. He no longer had the same blank expression as before. It was as if he had turned into an ancient battle emperor with illusionary figures of over 10 ancient godly beasts behind him. He threw a punch at Qin Nan. Not only was his god force outstanding, his flesh was outstanding too. It was equivalent to the 8th-layer earth god realm. Destruction Fist. A strong pressure loomed over Qin Nan's figure. Qin Nan unleashed the destruction will without hesitation and threw a punch forward too. Bang! Strong gusts surged in all directions, causing the immortal glow in the surroundings to flicker. Both of them stopped in midair as a series of explosions could be heard coming from their bodies. They were on par with one another in their first clash. Such a strong flesh, you're making me even more excited. Ding Tianqi's eyes flickered with excitement. He performed a series of hand seals as he prepared to execute a powerful attack. This Qin Nan's flesh is very strong. It'll give him a lot of advantages. If he's good at controlling his back and his footwork, he should be able to last for 600 breaths. One of the sky immortal giants stroked his beard. Master Wooding and the rest of the experts nodded slightly. Judging from Qin Nan's performance, it was almost impossible for him to last for 1,000 breaths. It was almost impossible. Sky Stride Blow. Chapter 1597. Astounding Strength. He took the initiative to attack? Many cultivators subconsciously straightened their back. They initially thought Qin Nan was going to take a step back in order to prolong the battle. Master Wooding and the Heaven Immortals sharply noticed that Qin Nan's move was a little strange. The immortal arts they had seen before did not seem to be as impressive as it. Great timing! Ding Tianqi yelled. An ancient seal appeared above his head. It blocked Qin Nan's sudden slash like a huge mountain. His bones were densely covered with countless mystical runes. Whenever he was attacked by a sudden attack, the runes would activate on their own to block the attack. In a sense, if one wanted to launch a sneak attack or assassinate him, it would be impossible to succeed unless one had overwhelming strength. Destruction Battle Fist. Qin Nan did not stop there. It was as if he had gathered all his strength into his fists, as he lashed out with a destructive force. A strong gust surged in all directions like a tide. Whoosh! At that instant, Ding Tianqi suddenly moved and dodged the punch. Furthermore, 137 figures suddenly appeared in the domain of immortal light. Illusions? No, they are clones, and each of them has a certain amount of god force. They can easily execute an immortal art. Qin Nan scanned the figures with his golden eyes. Before he could make his move, he felt a great chill running down his spine. He immediately executed the unstoppable step without any hesitation. With his current strength, he wouldn't even be able to produce an afterimage when using this divine ability. If one did not possess a certain level of eye prowess and perception, they would only think that he had vanished into thin air. Such speed, he's on par with me. However, it doesn't matter how fast he is in front of me. The eyes of the clones of Ding Tianqi flickered with astonishment. They then uttered a roar, immortal shaking hammers. A few hundred blinding immortal rays immediately burst out from each of the clones of Ding Tianqi. A pair of illusionary yet imperious hammers appeared in front of them. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, 100 hammers were struck in the air. It felt like hundreds of lightning strikes had exploded at the same time. The boundless force of the hammers surged into the immortal barrier. Aside from where Ding Tianqi was, every corner was no exception. No matter how strong one's movement technique was, there was nowhere one could rely on. Blade of Desolation. Without any hesitation, Qin Nan became one with his saber and turned into Tian Huang. He tore apart the hammer force layer by layer and arrived in front of Ding Tianqi. Great calamity, heaven flipping palm. It was as if Ding Tianqi had been waiting for this moment for a long time. He executed a shocking immortal art. Two terrifying giant hands appeared above Qin Nan and slammed down with shocking might. Voila! Golden flames burst out from Qin Nan's eyes. A terrifying eye technique materialized into two golden spears that penetrated the giant hand. Bang bang bang! Densely packed sounds of explosions rang out like the sound of drums. The figures of the two were like two peerless divine dragons, clashing back and forth with each other, and the battle was extremely intense. No one doubted that if Master Wooding had not set up the immortal barrier, the place would most likely be razed to the ground. No wonder this Qin Nan was able to kill the underworld prince. His strength is just too shocking. The cultivators in the hall could not help but exclaim. Even some of the Heaven Immortal Realm experts were startled. The fact that Qin Nan was only at a slight disadvantage despite the great disparity between his strength and Ding Tianqi's. It was not something an ordinary peerless genius could do. However, they still shook their heads in the end. There was no way Qin Nan could last for more than 1,000 breaths. Ding Tianqi would cripple his Dantian in the end. 600 breaths have passed. Qiu Hong clenched his fist. Death upon the area. Meanwhile, inside the immortal barrier, Qin Nan soared into the sky and shoved his hand downward. Wisps of saber intense immediately filled Ding Tianqi's figure. The runes covering Ding Tianqi's body were fully unleashed to resist the attacks. What kind of art is this? However, it won't do any harm to me. Ding Tianqi was astounded. He soon shook his head. Skystride blow. Qin Nan suddenly appeared behind him and slashed forward with a formidable saber intent. It shattered the runes and landed on Ding Tianqi's back. Ding Tianqi groaned and took a few steps back. Ha ha ha, very well. A mere peak earth god is able to hurt me. Not only was Ding Tianqi not enraged, he burst out laughing instead. He wiped the blood on his lips as his eyes sharpened. A terrifying aura rose inside his body. Then I'll get serious too. Following the words, two giant hammers flew out from his hands with blinding immortal glows right above Qin Nan. How quick! Qin Nan's eyes glittered as his hair stood on its end. He had no choice but to use his hands to defend himself. Bang! He received a terrifying blow. His bones were shattered into pieces as his blood surged. His body was sent flying like an arrow being fired. Forbidden taboo. Qin Nan groaned as he felt a great pain. A mysterious force flowed through his body and healed his injuries instantly. But in the next moment, his pupils shrank to the size of needles. Ding Tianqi had already arrived in front of Qin Nan as he was sent flying. He was like a god of judgment holding two hammers as he looked down at Qin Nan with an expressionless face. Shattering the mountains and rivers. The shadows of the hammers poured down and devoured Qin Nan. The aura of the immortal glow domain became chaotic. Tens of thousands of cracks spread across the rift. Qin Nan has lost. The same thought crossed the minds of Master Wooding, the rest of the Heaven Immortal Realm experts, and the rest of the cultivators. Even though Qin Nan was able to heal his injuries, he was unable to defend himself against such a terrifying attack. However, they were not too surprised. It was already impressive that Qin Nan was able to last 700 breaths against Ding Tianqi. Brother Nan. Qiu Hong was startled. Su Xianji, who was not far away, bit her lips too. Ha ha ha, Qin Nan, this is retribution. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao and Gao Yuanxian burst out laughing in their hearts. They felt extremely pleasant. Zhao Lijian seemed to be in a good mood too. It was his first time finding Ding Tianqi pleasing to the eye. I didn't expect your flesh to be so strong, to be able to recover from your injuries. However, it's all over now. Ding Tianqi raised his hammers. Thousands of hammer shadows were summoned and merged with the hammers, as if they had merged with a great force. He swung the hammers at Qin Nan. Bang! Following a loud crash, Ding Tianqi's expression froze. A giant hand covered in blood had grabbed his wrist. Despite his outstanding strength, he could not swing the hammers at Qin Nan? Is that so? Following a calm voice, a strong aura soared into the sky. Chapter 1598. The winner is the king. What just happened? How did he survive the attack? Whether it was Master Wooding or the other heaven immortals, their faces were filled with disbelief. Ding Tianqi's attack was no ordinary attack. Even a third-layer heaven god realm cultivator would not be able to survive it. Besides, Qin Nan's cultivation was only in the peak earth god realm. How did your injuries recover instantly? Ding Tianqi could not believe his eyes. He was familiar with Qin Nan since he was fighting against him. Qin Nan's flesh was already severely injured. Even with the help of some law-defying immortal herbs, it was impossible for him to recover instantly. Skystride blow. Qin Nan did not answer. His figure vanished into thin air as he descended from the sky like a deity. He swung his saber with a terrifying aura. So what if your injuries are healed? I don't believe you can recover a second time after recovering the first time. Ding Tianqi let out a roar and fired a few hammer shadows. Qin Nan's saber intent was extremely powerful, yet it was still significantly weaker compared to the hammer shadows. It was shattered into pieces in just a single blow. On top of it, Qin Nan's figure was being approached by the hammer shadows too. Forbidden taboo flesh. In the nick of time, Qin Nan's aura skyrocketed. If his strength was 6 times stronger than Ding Tianqi's before, it was only 3 times stronger now. His cultivation has doubled? Master Wooding, the Heaven Immortals, and the cultivators did not expect such an unexpected turn of events to take place. After all, immortal arts that were capable of increasing one's combat strength by an entire 100% were like phoenix feathers and Qilin horns, and they were basically very rare. Could it be? Gao Yuanxian and Zhao Lijian's hearts sank. Meanwhile, little Pring Emperor Wan Zhao's expression darkened. He knew Qin Nan was able to double his cultivation, yet he did not expect Qin Nan to have the ability to recover instantly too. Now, 700 breaths had passed. Was Qin Nan really able to hold on for 1,000 breaths? Qin Nan, I didn't expect you to have such a trick up your sleeve. I'm impressed. If you can really last for 1,000 breaths, I won't cripple your dantian. I'll even give you the saber. Ding Tianqi's eyes emitted an immortal glow. His blood was boiling like boiling water. Even though his mind was damaged and his soul was incomplete, he had always been a battle-hungry person. The stronger Qin Nan's capabilities and cultivation were, the more excited he was. Sky-shaking hammer. Ding Tianqi uttered a roar as his clones executed a peerless hammer art, which charged in Qin Nan's direction ferociously like an ancient army. Destruction battle flesh. Qin Nan's battle intent skyrocketed. He immediately executed all the moves he had learned. Bang bang bang. The spacious immortal glow began to shake vigorously. The battle between Qin Nan and Ding Tianqi was even more terrifying than before. Some cultivators who were a great distance away could feel a great impact. They were unable to calm their thoughts. In addition to it, even the Heaven Immortals were attracted by the battle too. Time gradually passed. 800 breaths, 900 breaths. Even though Qin Nan was at a disadvantage, his battle intent continued to grow. Even Ding Tianqi could not do anything to him for the time being. Only 50 breaths left. Qiu Hong subconsciously rose to his feet. He was extremely nervous. Beside him, Su Xianji's eyes flickered with astonishment too. Ding Tianqi, you must defeat him for me. Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Gao Yuan Xian, and the others clenched their fists tightly. Dalua World Jade, Wuji Shocking Immortal Emperor. Inside the immortal glow, Ding Tianqi's aura skyrocketed. As he performed a hand seal, his clones turned into a ray of light and entered his hammers. A terrifying aura surged across the place. Even the surrounding space started to distort, shake. Everything in this area seemed to have been sealed in ice. An ancient door opened and a magnificent figure walked out from it. He glanced down at Qin Nan and swung the hammers in his hands forward. The attack was completely different than the ones before. It was shapeless and aimed at Qin Nan's soul. If Qin Nan failed to resist the attack, his soul would suffer great damage. He would lose all his strength and lose the battle. Bang! The hammers soon landed on Qin Nan's body. The shapeless force surged in all directions like a storm. Even some of the weaker cultivators in the hall felt a stabbing pain in their heads and were affected by it. How is it? Did we defeat Qin Nan? Little Pring Emperor Wan Shao, Gao Yuan Xian, and Zhao Lijian blurted out. They immediately activated their powerful eye techniques to observe the battle. They were well aware of how powerful the attack was. However, they did not dare to make any assumptions after the series of twists and turns. They would only feel relieved after witnessing the outcome of the battle. In addition to them, Qiu Hong, Su Xianji, and the Heaven Immortals reacted the same way too. The latter, in particular, was completely attracted by the battle. They were extremely interested in the outcome of the battle. This is so satisfying. It's been a long time since I've had such an enjoyable battle. I'll give you some herbs later to treat your injuries. Once your cultivation is on par with mine, I'll fight you again. Ding Tianqi said in high spirits. He was extremely confident that Qin Nan would surely lose the battle against the attack. However, before he could finish his words, a figure slowly walked out from the energy that filled the sky. It seems like I've won the battle. Qin Nan's blood hair drifted in the wind as he said calmly. He was not injured in the slightest after taking that blow. Even though Ding Tianqi's god force was a few times stronger than his soul and divine sense were strong enough that even an Earth Immortal Realm authority would not be able to harm him, let alone Ding Tianqi. It was one of his greatest advantages. You're unharmed? Ding Tianqi's eyes widened. He could not believe his eyes. Qin Nan. 1. Chapter 1599. The danger approached. Ding Tianqi had only suppressed his cultivation to the third layer heaven god realm. Qin Nan was only a peak earth god, yet he had managed to last 1,000 breaths against him. What did it imply? If Qin Nan and Ding Tianqi had the same cultivation, they would be on par with one another. As a matter of fact, Qin Nan was slightly stronger than Ding Tianqi. Could it be that the kid has mastered the minor success stage of the Tao realm? The same thought appeared in the minds of the cultivators, causing them to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. Everyone knew that those who mastered the four extremities after reaching the Heaven Immortal Realm were considered peerless rulers. As for the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm, as long as their cultivation was strong enough to master the Tao realm, they would be called Nine Heavens Supreme. The minor success stage of the Tao realm was the dream of many peerless geniuses, or even some new peerless rulers. If Qin Nan successfully ascended as an immortal and mastered the Tao realm, he would be considered an exceptional genius. He would be considered one of the top geniuses in the entire Nine Heavens Immortal Realm. A top genius like him would either be the successor of a Nine Heavens Supreme or a core disciple of a Supreme Taoism faction. Their identity and status were extraordinary, and they could easily achieve the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm in the future. Qin Nan, you've given me too many surprises today. It's my loss this time, but you won't be able to beat me again next time. Ding Tianqi was the first to collect his thoughts. He did not look disappointed. After he finished speaking, the focus in his eyes began to fade away. Like a puppet, he walked to his original position. Qin Nan nodded. His battle intent dissipated. He had to admit that Ding Tianqi was one of the few opponents that he respected in the battles he had fought. At this moment, the entire hall was still deathly silent. Qin Nan soon collected his thoughts. He stepped out of the domain and brought his fists together. Senior Wooding, according to the agreement, can you give the saber to me now? As soon as he said this, many heaven immortals began to recover from their shock. Haha, you are truly a young hero. If it was me back then, I wouldn't even have 30% of your strength. Taoist Wu Ding laughed loudly. This saber is yours today. There was no displeasure in his heart right now. The strength that Qin Nan displayed already made him have a whole new level of respect for him. If he had known that Qin Nan had such strength, he would not have hesitated to give it to Qin Nan from the start and would not have held this battle. Young friend Qin Nan, that move of yours was truly brilliant. Congratulations, little friend Qin Nan. Qin Nan. The experts of the other forces also reacted and raised their glasses to congratulate him. As the saying goes, the winner takes all. Now that Qin Nan had won, he was the current king. No one would look down on him anymore, and they would do everything they could to form good relations with him. Friend Qin Nan, I didn't expect you to be so strong. I was quite worried just then. Su Xianji stepped forward and said with a charming smile, I've already sent someone to investigate the saber's background. Qiu Hong immediately said, Brother Nan, don't worry, I've sent someone to investigate it too. Qin Nan was startled for a moment, before he bowed solemnly. Even though Su Xianji was trying to be friendly with him, it felt like she was doing him a favor on purpose. However, he was currently alone in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. It was too difficult for him to investigate the matter on his own. Su Xianji and Qiu Hong had taken the initiative to help him. It was a sign of their friendship. Please be safe. Qin Nan held the black saber tightly. He slowly released his grip after a while. I'll cultivate in seclusion after I return. Gao Yuanxian and Zhao Lijian did not look too pleased, but little Ping Emperor Wan Shao clenched his fists tightly while wearing a displeased look. The will to fight that he had not felt for a long time was ignited in his heart. The reason being that he wanted to surpass the giant mountain that was Qin Nan. Let's continue with the feast. Zhao Lijian took a deep breath to calm his thoughts and said, We'll now proceed with the second stage. Fellow cultivators, you may bow and offer a toast. Everything returned to the right track. However, due to the duel between Qin Nan and Ding Tianqi, the atmosphere of the feast was quite lively. Just like at the feast, Qin Nan had become the center of attention too. Time gradually passed. Half an hour later, the ceremony came to an end. The cultivators began to converse with one another and offer toasts to one another to establish friendship. While the atmosphere was lively, a disciple in a blue robe suddenly came up to them and transmitted his voice to Master Wooding. Say, Elder, something has happened. The Linhe Ancient Path and the Yuanshuan Ancient Path are activated earlier than expected. The Linhe Ancient Path and the Yuanshuan Ancient Path were two reputable trial grounds in the 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm. They were constructed by the South World Immortal Emperor and managed by Master Wooding. Master Wooding glanced at the disciple coldly and said, It's only activated earlier than expected. Let the outer and inner disciples take the trial and enter the trial in advance. If they were not at the feast, he would surely scold the disciple. What was the point of reporting it now? The disciple's back was covered in cold sweat. His voice trembled slightly as he said, By the way, Southeast, Elder, the Tao Observing Rock is activated earlier than expected too. Master Wooding was startled. The Tao Observing Rock was different from the previous two trial grounds. It was refined by the South World Immortal Emperor. It was activated once every year. Once it was activated, it would be able to detect the presence of their enemies in the 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm. As such, the Tao-observing rock was able to detect the men of sacrifice sent by other factions, granting them great benefits. However, it was activated a month ago. Why was it activated again now? Got it, you can leave now. Master Wooding waved his hand. He already felt that something was not right, but he had no choice but to investigate it after the feast. Acknowledged. The disciple let out a relieved sigh and left the hall. No one was aware of the conversation between the two of them. The entire hall was filled with people coming and going, and the atmosphere was still lively. Qin Nan, in particular, was befriended by many factions. When they learned that Qin Nan did not belong to a faction, many factions tried to recruit him too. Cultivator Qin Nan, why don't you join us? With your talents, you will surely become the South World Immortal Emperor's core disciple. When the time comes, Master Wooding fixed his gaze on Qin Nan too. Buzz. Before he could finish, the hall began to tremble all of a sudden. An invisible pressure appeared out of nowhere and slowly spread out above the crowd. The cultivators raised their heads. Could this be Master Wooding, Zhao Lijian, and many Heaven Immortal Realm experts under the South World Immortal Emperor's command sharply noticed something. Bang! Chapter 1600. The Wrath of an Expert. What's that? Qin Nan frowned. The magnificent blue light did not emit any energy, thus it was unable to inflict any damage to his flesh or divine sense. However, he had a very uncomfortable feeling in his heart. It was as if there was a giant cold snake staring at him from the darkness. What's going on? Why is there a light all of a sudden? Many cultivators in the hall were confused. Could it be the blue light of the Tao-observing stone? A Heaven Immortal Realm expert from another faction blurted out as a thought crossed his mind. Tao-observing stone? Isn't that the legendary artifact that the South World Immortal Emperor refined himself, the one that can detect the presence of enemies? I remember now, the Tao-observing stone will emit a glow when it detects the presence of an enemy. There are 7 colors, namely red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Red is the least threatening, while purple is the most threatening. The experts of the other factions gradually collected their thoughts. However, as they explained the secrets of the Tao-observing stone, the eyes of the cultivators widened as they realized something. The hall fell into a dead silence. Even the sound of a pin dropping to the ground could be heard. If that was the case, didn't that mean Qin Nan was a formidable enemy of the South World Immortal Emperor's faction? In addition to them, Master Wooding, Zhao Lijian, and the rest of the cultivators were astounded too. The rest of the cultivators might be clueless, but they were well aware of it. The Tao-observing stone would only activate once a year. It was unlikely to happen even once in the next 50 years. Besides, if the light was emitted by the blue light, it implied that there was an unresolved conflict between them and Qin Nan. It also implied that Qin Nan would pose a great threat to them in the future. The South World Immortal Emperor has the same ability too? Qin Nan felt a great chill running down his spine. Back in the Kanglan continent, the South Heaven Gate had classified him as a 3-starred enemy because of the ability, causing him to be hunted down countless times. I should leave this place first. Qin Nan did not hesitate. He immediately unleashed the God force in his body to execute the unstoppable step. With his current cultivation, there was no way he could stay here any longer. Trying to leave? Master Wooding reacted and flicked his finger. A formidable immortal glow poured down like an ocean and formed a giant cage trapping Qin Nan inside it. In addition to that, it was as if the entire hall had come alive at that instant, emitting countless mystical glows as various formations were activated, sealing off the area. Now, even if a heavenly immortal realm expert made a move, it would be utterly impossible to charge out of the hall and flee within a short period of a few breaths of time. Not good. Qin Nan's heart sank. In such a situation, how was he supposed to break through? Taoist Wooding, what is the meaning of this? Chiu Hong's expression changed drastically. He immediately stepped forward and shouted sternly. What do you mean? Taoist Master Wooding's expression was cold as he said, This child is a great enemy of our blue light, of course we have to take action. It's best that you don't interfere, lest you implicate yourself. As soon as the words left his mouth, the cultivators in the temple began to emit faint auras, and their eyes were cold. These cultivators were the elders of the South World Immortal Emperor's factions that were close to Master Wooding. Their cultivations were at the human immortal realm and the earth immortal realm. The human immortal realm elders of the Supreme Taoism factions immediately rose to their feet and said, Chiu Hong, this has nothing to do with us. Besides, before they could finish, Chiu Hong clenched his fists and said fearlessly, What if I insist on interfering? Su Xianji giggled and said in a gentle voice, Senior Wooding, aren't you being too reckless by trying to harm your friend Qin Nan just because of a rock? The South World Immortal Emperor was no longer the South Heaven Gate. He had yet to become the strongest existence in the entire Shangxingtian small immortal realm. They had no idea how the South World Immortal Emperor's factions would react to the Tao-observing stone's judgment of a great enemy of the blue light, or even a great enemy of the purple light. At the same time, they would not be so easily convinced either. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At that instant, 10 figures appeared in front of the hall. Each of them was emitting a shocking aura, causing many cultivators to shiver. The 10 figures were the supreme elders of the South World Immortal Emperor's factions. Their cultivations had all reached the peak heaven immortal realm. Why are you all here? Master Wooding was startled. Even though the appearance of a great enemy of the blue light was a huge matter, was it really necessary to summon so many supreme elders at the same time? Wooding, the great enemy of the blue light is this guy, right? A beautiful woman glanced at Qin Nan with a confused look and said, Senior Immortal Emperor has given us an order. If it's really this guy, we're to cripple his cultivation and imprison him in the 10,000 hell. Hearing this, the experts of the various factions and the cultivators were astounded. Even Master Wooding and the rest of the cultivators shared the same reaction. The South World Immortal Emperor had given the order in person to deal with the appearance of a great enemy of the blue light? Qin Nan was startled too. He soon fell into deep thought. Did the South World Immortal Emperor's clone sense something when it appeared? Meanwhile, Chiu Hong and Su Xianji's hearts sank. Even the South World Immortal Emperor had given the order in person. How were they going to protect Qin Nan? Ha ha ha, Qin Nan, this is the real retribution. Gao Yuanxian and Little Ping Emperor Wan Shao burst out laughing in their hearts. They initially thought everything had come to an end, and Qin Nan was going to return with great rewards. To their surprise, Qin Nan was being targeted by the South World Immortal Emperor and the others in just a few breaths' time. As such, regardless of how strong Qin Nan was, he would not be able to resolve the crisis. But the kid is a peerless genius, who has even achieved the minor success stage of the Tao realm. Master Wooding transmitted his voice after a slight hesitation. Even though he was planning to pick on Qin Nan, he did not expect to be so ruthless. After all, a peerless genius in the minor success stage of the Tao realm would surely be supported by someone formidable. A peerless genius in the minor success stage of the Tao realm? The Supreme Elders exchanged glances with one another. They were even more confused. Senior Immortal Emperor also said that if the kid has an extraordinary background, we should make our move without any hesitation. Master Wooding was startled. Did that mean the Immortal Emperor had already foreseen this? Enough with the nonsense, Senior has already given the order. I'll cripple the kid now. Chapter 1601. Sword Master. By his gaze was fixed on Qin Nan. In an instant the atmosphere in the hall froze. It was as if a peerless ferocious beast was about to make its move. This Qin Nan is done for. Even if he has someone formidable supporting him, it's too late to save him. A peerless genius who has achieved the Tao realm, it's such a pity that he is going to die just like that. The cultivators in the hall could not help but shake their heads. The Heaven Immortals, in particular, had no intention of intervening. They might consider it if they were somewhere else, but it was impossible in the 10,000 Zhang Heaven realm. Qin Nan, oh Qin Nan, I've always treated you as a formidable foe, yet you're going to die so soon. Little Ping Emperor Wan Shao stopped laughing too. His eyes flickered with a hint of pity. There was no reason for him to hate Qin Nan under the circumstances. Blood sacred immortal execution art. The middle-aged man made his move. It was as if he had transformed into a peerless demon holding a blood saber and stepping on the rift, intimidating the surroundings. Not on my watch. In the nick of time, Qiu Hong did not hesitate at all. He let out a roar as countless runes burst out of his body and transformed into an ancient illusionary figure. He once mentioned that Qin Nan was the one who had given him his life. He no longer had any family in this world. Even if he had to die, he would not let Qin Nan die. Piss off. The middle-aged man snapped and waved his hand. A terrifying force shattered the runes covering Qiu Hong's body and sent him flying. He slammed into a wall in the distance. The difference between a heaven immortal and a heaven god was not insignificant at all. That being said, he was aware of Qiu Hong's identity, thus he did not go all out. Die. The middle-aged man went up to Qin Nan. He raised his blood saber and slashed at Qin Nan. A blood-red glow lit up the hall. Everyone subconsciously held their breath. There was an invisible solidification. The person who was about to die was no ordinary person, but a peerless genius who had reached the Tao realm. Since it has come to this, there is no other way. In the nick of time, Qin Nan's eyes flickered with determination. There was still a mark left behind by the war god on his body. The war god had left him a will. As long as he activates this seal, he will be able to resolve all dangers. I hope that the power of this imprint is stronger than I imagined. A thought emerged in Qin Nan's mind. It would be best if he could destroy the entire 10,000 Zhang celestial domain, and then defeat these heavenly immortal experts one by one. Stop! In the nick of time, a loud roar exploded like a clap of thunder. Following that, the various formations outside the main hall suffered an extremely terrifying blow, and all of them shattered. A giant hand emitting a blue immortal glow slapped at the middle-aged man at lightning speed. Break! The middle-aged man was startled when he sensed a great pressure. He immediately unleashed all his god force into the blood saber to shatter the giant hand into pieces. Who's there? Master Wooding, the Supreme Elders, and the rest of the elders were startled. They immediately unleashed their auras. Someone is here to save Qin Nan? The cultivators of the other factions were startled. Normally, even if Qin Nan had a peerless ruler supporting him, there was no way he could make it to the 10,000 Zhang celestial domain in such a short time. Even Qin Nan's face was filled with astonishment. Could it be the copper mirror's doing? Hee, you guys are pretty unreasonable, convicting him of a crime and killing him right away. Following a cold laugh, 3 figures walked in from outside the hall. 2 of them were wearing white robes with white veils on their faces, preventing them from seeing their faces. The person leading the group was wearing a white golden robe with 4 giant swords on his back. His face was expressionless, yet his presence was intimidating, preventing the others from speaking recklessly. The White One-Sword Emperor under the Bliss Immortal Emperor? Does that mean Qin Nan is the core disciple of the Bliss Immortal Emperor? Some of the experts from the other forces instantly recognized the identity of the person who had come. The White One-Sword Emperor's status and reputation in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm was on par with Master Wooding, or even higher. After all, apart from mastering the 4 extremities, the White One-Sword Emperor had also achieved the Heaven Immortal Realm. Once he reached the peak Heaven Immortal Realm, he would be considered a peerless ruler. So you're the successor of the Bliss Immortal Emperor. It seems like I've guessed wrong. Su Xianji glanced at Qin Nan and let out a smile like a blossoming flower. Even though it was a little different from what she had imagined, the Bliss Immortal Emperor was still one of the ancient immortal emperors in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. I'm not his successor, Qin Nan said while shaking his head. You're not his successor? Su Xianji was startled. Then why is the white-robed sword emperor here to save you? Her question was exactly what Qin Nan was wondering too. However, before Qin Nan could ask, Master Wooding's expression turned cold as he asked, White One, what do you mean by this? Are you seriously going against us for the sake of this kid? The White One-Sword Emperor harumphed coldly and said, It's not up to us to decide, but we'll be taking this kid away today. Saying this, he completely ignored Master Wooding and shattered the cage on Qin Nan, planning to bring Qin Nan away. In your dreams, Master Wooding and the other 9 Supreme Elders immediately executed shocking immortal arts without hesitation, which transformed into various killing blows. If you want to fight, I'm more than willing to entertain you. The White One-Sword Emperor stepped forward. The 4 ancient swords on his back were drawn out of their sheaths. They summoned a few hundred sword intents to resist the attacks of the 10 Supreme Elders. The eyes of the 2 peak Heaven Immortals beside him flickered. They performed hand seals, summoning thousands of enormous blue glowing dragons. The whole hall shook vigorously. Are they going to fight now? The hearts of the cultivators and the experts of the other factions shuddered. White One-Sword Emperor, you should think twice. You're currently in the 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm. If you're serious about fighting, none of you will be leaving this place alive. Master Wooding withheld his anger and said in a deep voice. How bold of you! Kid Wooding, you're only an Earth immortal. You have yet to become a real peerless ruler, yet you dare to say such words? Chapter 1602. The 3 Immortal Emperors. The entire hall immediately became deathly silent. It wasn't that no one was speaking, nor was it that there was no sound at all. Instead, there was an invisible pressure that suppressed everything here. Only Qin Nan was left with a blank expression. He was very familiar with the voice, but why was he here too? Whoosh! A young man appeared in front of the crowd with a faint smile on his face. Even though he did not unleash any aura, the expressions of the crowd changed immediately. Bliss! Immortal Emperor? Everyone's pupils shrank. No one thought the peerless ruler of the Shangxingtian small immortal realm would come in person, even though it was only a wisp of his will. Damn it! Gao Yuanxian and Little Peng Emperor Wan Shao were startled. Especially the latter, who had been feeling sorry for Qin Nan just a moment ago, but now what was he feeling sorry for? The Bliss Immortal Emperor had made it in time. Even if the South World Immortal Emperor had given the order, there was no way Qin Nan was going to die today. Senior Bliss, I didn't expect you to come to the 10,000 Zhang Heaven Realm too. Master Wooding's expression shifted slightly, but he soon forced a smile. As the Bliss Immortal Emperor had mentioned, he had yet to achieve the peerless ruler realm. He had to lower his pride when facing a real peerless ruler. The Bliss Immortal Emperor nodded slightly. He glanced at the hall and said calmly, I'll be taking him away, is that all right? No one in the hall spoke. The Supreme Elder who tried to kill Qin Nan and the other Supreme Elders were startled. They did not dare to say a word. Even though they could easily defeat the strand of will of the Bliss Immortal King if they worked together, the consequences of such a thing was something that they could not bear. Senior Bliss, about that. Master Wooding braced himself and was about to say something. If the Bliss Immortal Emperor really took Qin Nan away, how were they going to explain it to the South World Immortal Emperor? The The Bliss Immortal Emperor's eyes turned cold. The entire hall immediately became austere, as if it was the dead of winter. Even the powerful artifact spirits in the depths of the hall were shivering. However, not everyone could ignore the threat of a peerless ruler like Qin Nan. Taoist Wooding's expression changed. He no longer dared to speak. "I'll tell South World about it," the Bliss Immortal Emperor calmly said. He flicked his finger and fired a ray of light at Qin Nan, as if he was planning to bring him away. "You've shown off your might in my 10,000 feet heaven domain. I don't think there's a need to pass on the message, right?" At that instant, another voice suddenly echoed in the hall. Immortal rays poured down from the 10,000 Zhang heaven realm and slowly turned into an illusionary figure. The figure was none other than the will of the South World Immortal Emperor. "The South World Immortal King is here too?" The cultivators in the hall became restless. "Greetings, Senior South World." Master Wooding and the great elders were overjoyed. They immediately bowed. "Does this mean there's still a chance?" The eyes of Gao Yuanxian and Little Peng Emperor Wan Shao glittered. "There's no need to be so courteous. I won't blame you for what happened just then." The illusionary figure of the South World Immortal Emperor waved his hand. He glanced at Qin Nan before looking at the Bliss Immortal Emperor and said, "Isn't it inappropriate for you to come here and take away the enemy in the blue glow?" The eyes of the Bliss Immortal Emperor flickered. The others might be clueless, but he was well aware that the South World Immortal Emperor had already achieved the greater success stage of the Tao realm. He was only a step away from achieving the perfect stage of the Tao realm. He also learned that the South World Immortal Emperor had been accumulating his strength. He was able to achieve the perfect stage at any time. In other words, he would become a Nine Heavens Supreme once he achieved the perfect stage of the Tao realm. Normally, he would not want to face the man, but when he thought about the thing that Qin Nan had, he immediately made up his mind. This time, he had sent Bai Yi to save Qin Nan's life because of the same thing. "Don't you think it's appropriate to sentence my man to death just because of a piece of treasure?" The Bliss Immortal Emperor laughed and said, "If you let me take him away today, I'll owe you a favor. How's that?" He chose to compromise against the South World Immortal Emperor. "Why would I need your favor? I'll be frank with you, I'll cripple this kid today." Even though the South World Immortal Emperor's tone was calm, his imperious tone was fully displayed. "What if I insist on taking him away?" The smile on the Bliss Immortal Emperor's face slowly withdrew. "I'll pay you a visit in the future." The South World Immortal Emperor's eyes sharpened. He was eager to cripple Qin Nan not because he had discovered Qin Nan's identity, nor did he know that Qin Nan was the guy that had shattered the South Heaven Gate. However, he had a bad impression of Qin Nan for some reason. He only transmitted his thought when the Tao observing stone reacted. As for his current attitude, he was only trying to tell the others in the Shangxingtian's small immortal realm that even a peerless ruler could not act recklessly in the 10,000 Zhang heaven realm. Buzz. The entire hall began to tremble. Everyone's heart skipped a beat too. They could not calm down at all. It was rare to see a confrontation between two peerless rulers. Furthermore, they all wanted to see how this confrontation would turn out in the end. How impressive of the South World Immortal Emperor! Gao Yuanxian and Little Peng Emperor Wan Shao were overjoyed once again. Since the South World Immortal Emperor had said so, it was very likely that Qin Nan was going to die here today. As expected of the South World Immortal Emperor, how imperious! "I am ashamed of myself." The murderous aura that the Bliss Immortal Emperor was emitting suddenly vanished. He wore a calm smile, however. "I'm not the only one that wants to protect him today." Following his words, a blinding immortal glow like a star flickered in the sky of the 10,000 Zhang heaven realm. A figure with an aura as deep as an abyss stepped out from the distance. "South World, can you give me some face today?" The figure spoke with a loud voice, causing the minds of the crowd to buzz. Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor, why are you here too? The South World Immortal Emperor was slightly surprised. Brother South World, I'm sorry, I'm here too. At this moment, another pleasant voice sounded. A dreamlike woman in a pink dress slowly walked over. Chapter 1603. The Flesh of Bad Fortune, Red Zither Immortal Emperor, even you are here? Even the South World Immortal Emperor's eyes flickered with astonishment. It had only been less than 1,000 breaths since Qin Nan was designated as Lan Guang's enemy. In such a short period of time, the wills of 3 immortal emperors had arrived. It was obvious that Qin Nan was extremely important to the 3 immortal emperors, who had been protecting him secretly. Normally, even if Qin Nan was a peerless genius who had achieved the minor success stage of the Tao realm, it would not make sense for him to do so. As a matter of fact, many authorities and factions would not provide any help to the peerless geniuses under their command. They could only rely on themselves when they were in danger. 3 immortal emperors? Master Wooding, the experts, and the rest of the cultivators in the hall were astounded. They did not expect the faction supporting Qin Nan to be so powerful. I'm now sure that you're not the successor of the Bliss Immortal Emperor. Su Xianji's eyes flickered with an indifferent grin. Qin Nan did not say anything upon hearing the words, as his heart was filled with doubts too. He could still understand if the Bliss Immortal Emperor was involved. However, he was not familiar with the Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor and the Red Zither Immortal Emperor. Why would they help him? It was unlikely that the Bliss Immortal Emperor would invite 2 immortal emperors just for him, right? This kid is destined to meet me, so I've purposely come here. I hope Brother South World can spare his life and give him a chance, the Red Zither Immortal Emperor said with a smile. Her aura was like a spring breeze, preventing anyone from harming her. No wonder Qin Nan is Lan Guang's enemy. He's only a peak Earth God realm cultivator, yet 3 immortal emperors are here in person. The South World Immortal Emperor's expression gradually calmed down as he said, besides, with his talents, he's going to pose a great threat to us in the future. The aura in the entire hall turned murderous once again. The Bliss Immortal Emperor, the Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor, and the Red Zither Immortal Emperor did not say anything. They only shook their heads. A few moments later, the invisible aura finally calmed down. The South World Immortal Emperor spoke once again. How could I not give you face when you 3 have come in person? I can let him go, but I have one condition. The Bliss Immortal Emperor immediately brought his fists together and said, Cultivator South World, feel free to state your conditions. No need to be so polite, Brother Fuxing. The South World Immortal Emperor said with a calm smile, the condition is very simple. Let me inspect his body to see if he's the enemy I must eliminate. After saying this, he didn't wait for the 3 celestial kings to speak. He directly stretched out his large hand, and countless blue seals were shot out, sticking onto Qin Nan's body. As a matter of fact, he never doubted that Qin Nan was the person who had shattered his South Heaven Gate in the secondary lower realm. However, the attitude of the 3 celestial kings made him feel a little puzzled. At the same time, he couldn't let Qin Nan go just because the 3 celestial kings had spoken. Otherwise, it would be a loss of face for him. The eyes of the 3 immortal emperors shuddered. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect the South World Immortal Emperor to inspect his body. If the South World Immortal Emperor really found out his identity, even if the 3 celestial kings were here, the South World Immortal Emperor would not let him go so easily. Ownerless Heaven Pattern, Divine Battle Spirit, protect the aura in my body. Qin Nan groaned in his heart. Even though his face remained calm, his will was extremely tensed. Buzz. The blue seals were activated. Over 10,000 wisps of invisible force entered Qin Nan's body like a bunch of dragons. They rapidly flowed in every corner of his body. The entire hall was silent. Everyone was looking at this scene. They no longer had any idea what to do. They could only wait and see what would happen next. Time gradually passed. 30 breaths were gone fairly quickly. The invisible force roaming inside Qin Nan's body dissipated into thin air. The South World Immortal Emperor frowned. Cultivator South World, is Qin Nan the enemy you must kill? The Bliss Immortal Emperor asked calmly. Nope. The South World Immortal Emperor calmed his frown. He glanced at Qin Nan thoughtfully and said, however, it's quite impressive to be able to make the aura in your body as flawless as jade. Normally, a powerful genius would acquire some kind of succession, which would result in different kinds of auras in their body. It was his first time seeing someone as flawless as Qin Nan. Cultivator South World, you might not know, but Qin Nan has the flesh of bad fortune that has gone extinct since ancient times. The Bliss Immortal Emperor let out a relieved sigh and said, he has yet to fully master the flesh of bad fortune, which is why his aura is like this. Soon, the 10,000 Zhang heaven realm will be affected too. The crowd was startled upon hearing the words. Flesh of bad fortune? Even Qin Nan was dumbfounded. Since when did he have the flesh of bad fortune? Thank you, Brother Southworld, we won't disturb you any further. The Red Zither Immortal Emperor let out a smile. She waved her hand and fired an immortal glow, bringing Qin Nan away with her. The Bliss Immortal Emperor and the others quickly followed behind. I'll give the order regarding Qin Nan the day after tomorrow. I'll be going first, you all can continue with the feast. The South World Immortal Emperor did not stay any longer. He left too. He managed to survive the ordeal. Little Ping Emperor Wan Shao, Zhao Lijian, and Gao Yuanxian let out a sigh in their hearts. Their faces were filled with disappointment. Only Qiu Hong walked out from the wall and let out a relieved sigh. Another peerless genius has risen. Who would have thought that not only is this Qin Nan strong, he also has such a strong faction. Qin Nan has the flesh of bad fortune. What's the flesh of bad fortune? The cultivators collected their thoughts. While they were astounded, they were intrigued by the flesh of bad fortune. Even Su Xianji was no exception. She immediately sent someone to investigate the matter. After the investigation, many people were astounded once again. The flesh of bad fortune was able to influence the heavens and earth in the beginning. However, once it reached its limit, it would be able to influence the fortune of others. Influence the fortune of others? How is that even possible? Qin Nan has been in the 10,000 Zhang heaven realm for quite some time, yet I don't see anything happening to the people close to him. Another powerful cultivator shook his head and said, fortune did exist, but even the 9 heaven supremes had no idea how strong it was. However, as the feast continued, around the period it took an incense stick to burn, 3 shocking blasts took place in the 10,000 Zhang heaven realm. 3 shocking rare phenomena took place in the sky, attracting the attention of many cultivators. Chapter 1604. Inside the Supreme Cave Abode. The experts of the South World Immortal Emperor's factions were startled. Master Wooding, the Heaven Immortals, and the rest of the cultivators in the hall stared with their eyes wide open. They could not believe it. How could the body of misfortune be so powerful? Cough cough, Senior Sister Xianji, you have the spacious immortal flesh, while my brother has the flesh of bad fortune. Their talents, strength, and background are almost the same. Why don't you consider it? Qiu Hong suddenly went up to Su Xianji and said with a wink, I can guarantee that Wan Shao and the others are no match for my brother. Su Xianji rolled her eyes at him. Even though it seemed like she was angry, it had a certain charm to it as she said, stop talking nonsense. After she finished speaking, after several breaths of time, she seemed to have thought of something. Her cheeks became slightly hot and bright red. However, either way, Qin Nan had made a name for himself in the Shangxingtian's small immortal realm after the incident. In the future, the cultivators of various factions would not dare to provoke him. However, Qin Nan's title of the god of misfortune began to spread. Meanwhile, in a small space, the Bliss Immortal Emperor, the Red Zither Immortal Emperor, the Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor, and Qin Nan arrived at an ancient-looking residence. The White One-Sword Ruler and the others were standing outside the residence. Senior Immortal Emperors, thank you for saving my life. I can't thank you enough. Qin Nan did not show any restraint facing the three authorities. He immediately brought his fists together and said in a humble tone, "But..." The Bliss Immortal Emperor smiled and interrupted, "You must be wondering why the three of us are willing to lend you a hand, right?" He straightened his face and said, "I won't waste my time on the pleasantries. I believe you know that everyone in the world is only interested in benefits. If it weren't for the benefits, I wouldn't lend you a hand even though I admire you." Qin Nan nodded. He did not feel uncomfortable at all. "When you triggered the rare phenomena in the Bliss Heaven realm, I immediately asked the White One-Sword Ruler and the others to look for you. The Sword Ruler has my will, while I have the will of the Ground Spirit and the Red Zither. Therefore, you're quite lucky," the Bliss Immortal Emperor said with a smile. Half of the doubts in Qin Nan's heart were solved with a few simple sentences. "The reason why we're here is because of the rare treasure in your body. It's extremely powerful." The Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor and the Red Zither Immortal Emperor nodded. "Dao?" Qin Nan was a little confused. Even though the white-blue flower was quite powerful, it did not seem like it would bring any benefits to the three immortal emperors. As everyone knows, there are 33 small immortal realms in the 9 immortal realm. You might not know this, but there are a few dozen small immortal realms that haven't been fully occupied by cultivators. They are still in a desolate state. Even though these small immortal realms are deserted, they usually have lots of successions, blessed immortal lands, Tao-seeking lands, etc. The Bliss Immortal Emperor took a sip of the tea and said, "The rare artifact in your body can trigger the rare phenomena of the blessed immortal lands. It can also trigger the opening of some forbidden grounds in advance." The Red Zither Immortal Emperor interjected with a gentle voice, "I believe it's the reason why a shocking succession suddenly appeared in the Lu Wang battleground." Qin Nan's heart shuddered upon hearing this. He said, "Seniors, are you saying that?" The Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor nodded and said with a thunderous voice, "That's right, that's why your rare artifact is so powerful. It can trigger the appearance of some shocking successions in advance. It seems simple, but it's actually quite terrifying. It's also the reason why Bliss mentioned that you have the flesh of bad fortune. He was worried that he would attract unnecessary attention." Qin Nan's heart shuddered slightly. If he could make good use of the white-blue flower's ability, he would be able to make more inheritances appear one after another. The benefits of this would be unimaginable. Back to the topic. The Bliss Immortal Emperor placed the teacup down and stared at Qin Nan. "We once found a supreme cave abode. It was left behind by a 9 Heavens Supreme after his death 10,000 years ago. However, it has always been sealed off, preventing outsiders from entering it. We're here to save you so you can use the rare artifact to open the supreme cave abode." Qin Nan was startled. He did not expect the 3 immortal emperors to have such a great plan in mind. At the same time, he also came to a realization. No wonder the 3 immortal emperors were willing to team up and risk offending the South World Immortal Emperor just to save him. "I'll try my best to help, but I can't guarantee if I can trigger the rare phenomena of the Supreme Cave Abode," Qin Nan immediately said as the thought crossed his mind. Opening a Supreme Being Cave Abode for 3 immortal kings was not a bad thing for him at all. He might even be able to acquire some of the successions of a 9 Heavens Supreme. "Nice one, I didn't misjudge you." The Bliss Immortal Emperor's eyes flickered with admiration. However, Qin Nan, you have to remember that you can't tell anyone about this. Otherwise, I'll show no mercy. The Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor warned. He then said, "Can you show us the rare artifact that you have?" The eyes of the Red Zither Immortal Emperor and the Bliss Immortal Emperor flickered with an immortal flicker. They had long been curious about the rare artifact. Qin Nan shook his head and said, "Senior, the rare artifact has long merged with me. I can't take it out on my own. If you don't believe me, I can swear an oath." The white-blue flower had always belonged to the ownerless heaven pattern. He still had no way of controlling either of them. Fine. The Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor waved his hand. In fact, they had long been prepared for this in their hearts. For a treasure of this level, after meeting its owner, it would definitely become one with its owner. If it weren't for this, he would have made his move right away instead of waiting for Qin Nan to agree to it. Let's not waste any time. Why don't we head to the Supreme Cave Abode now? The Red Zither Immortal Emperor said with a smile. Senior Red Zither, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't go with you. Qin Nan immediately said, I've received news that other immortal ancient places are going to open soon. I'm planning to take part in it. Why don't I go after I ascend as an immortal? That was a Supreme Being's cave abode. It was definitely extraordinary. With the white-blue flower's ability, it would take a long time for it to influence the Supreme Cave Abode. Now that the Copper Mirror had already helped him to open the other immortal ancient places, how could he possibly take part in it? It's fine, I'm just bringing you there to take a look. It won't be too late for you to take part in it when the immortal ancient places are open. Chapter 1605. The Golden Auspicious Cloud. The entire Shangxingtian small immortal realm was vast and boundless. The three supreme Taoism factions, the factions led by peerless rulers, and other martial clans only occupied less than 1/1000th of the place. The rest of the place was filled with forbidden grounds and unknown places. Even the 9 Heavens Supremes were unable to explore them all. Time gradually passed. 2 days later, the 3 peerless rulers brought Qin Nan to a barren desert. The place did not have a name. It was covered in yellow sand. Every 10 breaths, a terrifying storm would take place. Even with Qin Nan's cultivation, he could feel a chill running down his spine and his body tensed. The desert seemed ordinary, yet it was hiding a great danger. Qin Nan did not doubt that without the 3 peerless rulers leading the way, even an Earth Immortal would have trouble leaving the place, let alone him. We're here. The Bliss Immortal Emperor came to a stop and performed a hand seal. The Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor and the Red Zither Immortal Emperor immediately floated 1,000 zhang away and performed a hand seal too. This is it. Qin Nan was startled. Apart from his golden eyes of the divine god of battle, which did not detect any strange aura, there was nothing else within a few 100,000 li apart from the yellow sand. With this place as the center, the yellow sand within 99,999 zhang is actually an ancient formation. The Bliss Immortal Emperor emitted a Tao glow as he spoke. It gathered on his hands. You need the corresponding hand seals to open it. Otherwise, even an ordinary peerless ruler would have trouble entering it. As soon as he finished the sentence, he and the other 2 immortal emperors completed their hand seals and slammed them down. Bang! An astounding sight took place. Countless grains of yellow sand emitted blinding immortal glows and formed an enormous formation in the air that resembled an ancient city. At the center of the formation stood a gate over 100 zhang tall. On both sides stood 2 statues covered in copper sheets, emitting a strong murderous aura. Both Qin Nan and the wills of the 3 peerless rulers were minuscule like ants compared to the scene before them. Is this the work of a 9 Heavens Supreme? Qin Nan's heart trembled. 10,000 years had already passed, yet the aura of the Grand Array was still so strong. If it was at its peak, wouldn't it be able to intimidate the 8 barren lands? Qin Nan, we're going in now. You must remember one thing, you must try your best to stabilize your mind, otherwise it will be very troublesome. The Bliss Immortal King had a serious expression. All right. Qin Nan nodded, his will tensed. Whoosh. The Bliss Immortal Emperor made his move once again. He unleashed a vast immortal intent encapsulating Qin Nan and the others as they flew into the door. As soon as he passed through the door, Qin Nan's expression changed instantly. He finally understood why the Bliss Immortal Emperor had asked him to calm his mind. Just a moment ago, an unimaginable pressure surged into his body, giving him the feeling that the sky was collapsing. If he had not endured the pressure of the divine god of battle and merged with the flesh of the divine god of battle, he would not have been able to resist it. His mind would have collapsed temporarily. The Bliss Immortal Emperor and the others nodded upon seeing this. It was quite impressive that he was able to resist the aura of a 9 Heavens Supreme with his cultivation of the peak Earth God realm. It seems like the cultivation of a 9 Heavens Supreme is a lot stronger than I thought. Qin Nan murmured as he glanced at his surroundings. In front of him was a boundless expanse of icy cold darkness. In the middle of it was a green stone path that extended forward. He didn't know where it led to. Even when Qin Nan activated the golden eyes of the divine god of battle, he could only see a zhang of darkness. He was unable to see the true appearance of the supreme cave abode. Buzz. Meanwhile, the ownerless heaven pattern in his divine sense shuddered as if it had sensed something. It soon returned to its calm state. The white-blue flower that had merged with the crystal began to react too. It was emitting a glow as if it was attracted by the path ahead. It's reacting, it should be able to influence the supreme cave abode. Qin Nan felt relieved upon seeing this. It was not a big deal if he failed to trigger the supreme cave abode to acquire any shocking successions, but it was a huge deal if he failed to repay the favor of the 3 immortal emperors. Qin Nan, follow our steps, don't make a single mistake, the Bliss Immortal Emperor reminded him before leading the way. The blue path was extremely long. Qin Nan and his crew had walked for over 10,000 zhang, yet they still could not see the end. Their surroundings were still pitch black. There was no sign of danger, nor were there any successions or treasures. However, Qin Nan clearly knew that the darkness on both sides was filled with great danger. A single mistake would result in his death. Even though the supreme cave abode from 10,000 years ago was filled with incredible fortunate encounters, it was not that easy to acquire it. This is, after walking for another 10,000 zhang, the scenery before Qin Nan changed. The boundless darkness and the blue path had completely disappeared. They were replaced by a sea of blue clouds. In particular, among the layers of clouds, there were 10 golden clouds with immortal light and rolling immortal intent. They contained an extremely vast amount of pure energy. Without being exaggerating, each of the golden clouds was comparable to the altar that Qin Nan had set foot on after acquiring the succession of the forbidden taboo. Phew, even though we're walking again, I'm still feeling a little nervous. The Bliss Immortal Emperor let out a sigh and turned to Qin Nan. This is the furthest we've explored in the cave abode. We've already taken the rest of the benefit. These 10 golden clouds are like places of treasure. They're very suitable for you. You should cultivate there. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. He did not reject the offer and brought his fists together. Thank you, seniors. He disappeared into one of the clouds with a flicker. A formidable pure force immediately surged into his limbs and bones like dragons, merging with his god force. However, he did not unleash the divine battle spirit since the 3 immortal emperors were around. I've asked the 10,000 Eyes Immortal Emperor to refine these talismans. Refine them, and we'll be able to sense them when they react. The Red Zither Immortal Emperor handed the talismans to the 3 peerless rulers. Not long after, the the three peerless rulers sat down with their legs crossed and watched Qin Nan cultivate from three different directions. Even Qin Nan felt strange for a moment before he calmed his thoughts. After all, in the entire Nine Heavens immortal realm, there had never been an earth god who was being watched by three immortal emperors while he was cultivating. If the news spread, it would surely stir a great uproar. Time gradually passed. 2 days were gone fairly quickly. The god force in Qin Nan's body had reached a certain level, allowing him to achieve the heaven god realm. Chapter 1606. The Heaven God Realm. The three immortal emperors subconsciously rose to their feet. In their eyes, the scene before them was not only limited to this layer of clouds. Below the clouds, there were hundreds of small, broken spaces. There were also dozens of different battlefields, tombs, mountains, and rivers. The first thing they saw was a silver river flowing in the air. It was emitting deep roars from time to time as immortal glows flickered in the middle of it. An immortal tree over 8 zhang tall with a straight trunk and leaves like sabers slowly emerged from the river with a magnificent saber intent. The tree of the saber immortal, once you refine it, you will be able to comprehend the saber intent, the ground spirit immortal emperor said with a hint of excitement. Normally, a single tree of the saber immortal would not be enough to make him so excited. However, what really excited him was that they had won the bet. The rare artifact that Qin Nan had was really able to trigger rare phenomena. Don't be too excited yet, the tree of the saber immortal might just be a coincidence, the bliss immortal emperor said in a deep voice. However, before he could finish his sentence, a flower with 100 petals, a boulder carved with the illusionary figures of a Qilin and a godly dragon, a formation with a ghastly face on it, etc., appeared from the river. In addition to it, the battlefields and mountains below began to emit wisps of immortal glow. It really triggered rare phenomena. The bliss immortal emperor was overjoyed. However, the center of the supreme cave abode isn't showing any reaction. The red zither immortal emperor's eyes flickered with a confused look. Normally, the center should be experiencing some changes too. The bliss immortal emperor and the ground spirit immortal emperor frowned upon hearing this. Previously, Qin Nan had caused the entire blessed immortal land to experience rare phenomena when he was in the bliss heaven realm. Let's wait for a few more days, perhaps we don't have enough time, the bliss immortal emperor said. Time gradually passed. 8 days were gone in the blink of an eye. The outside of the supreme cave abode was already covered in immortal glow as various successions appeared one after another. Some of the hidden forbidding auras and ferocious beasts were awakened too. However, the central region was still deathly silent. If that's the case, the power emanating from Qin Nan's body should be suppressed by the supreme cave abode, resulting in a limited range of influence. The bliss immortal emperor pondered for a moment before saying, "We need to bring him there if we want the central region or the inner region to undergo some strange changes." The other two immortal kings nodded. The supreme cave abode was different from the blessed immortal lands. Its size alone had surpassed any faction led by a peerless ruler. In addition to it, it was highly possible that there were several blessed immortal lands deep inside it. There might even be Tao-seeking lands and successions of 9 heavens supremes. It would be strange if he was so easily influenced. Even if the 3 of us join forces and protect him after we enter the central region, with his current cultivation, he won't be able to withstand the pressure of a supreme being that has already materialized. The ground spirit immortal king frowned and said, "We have to wait until Qin Nan reaches the peak of the heaven god realm. Human immortal realm is the best." The bliss immortal emperor pondered for a moment before saying, "We'll wait for him to ascend as an immortal. I remember an immortal ancient place has appeared in another small immortal realm. I believe other immortal ancient places will show up soon." He added after a slight pause, "With his cultivation, it shouldn't be a problem for him to ascend as an immortal. Even if he doesn't succeed, he will still reach the peak heaven god realm. We've already waited for so long, another year or so won't matter to us. The ground spirit immortal emperor and the red zither immortal emperor remained silent. A few moments later, they nodded slightly in agreement. Qin Nan, I have something to discuss with you, the bliss immortal emperor said. Meanwhile, Qin Nan's figure was emitting a glassy glow. The god force in his body was flickering rapidly. It was obvious that he was on the verge of achieving the heaven god realm. Senior, what is it? Qin Nan opened his eyes. The red zither immortal emperor said with a smile, the rare phenomena have already started, but it will still take some time before they are fully activated. We'll be leaving first. When the immortal ancient places are activated, you should go and take part in it. We'll bring you back once it's done. Keep this badge with you. You can send us a message if there's anything you need. In addition to her, the Bliss Immortal Emperor and the Ground Spirit Immortal Emperor each took out a badge too. They had spent a great amount of effort and paid a great price to leave 30% of their will in the badge. It was enough to help Qin Nan resolve the danger he was in. Before they acquired the succession of the Supreme Cave Abode, they would not allow anyone to kill Qin Nan. Seniors, many thanks. Qin Nan immediately understood the situation. He immediately bowed. Even though the three immortal emperors were only trying to make a deal with him, the badges were still extremely useful for him. We'll be leaving first. Remember, don't go anywhere. Otherwise, you're going to die for sure. The Bliss Immortal Emperor reminded them. The wills of the three immortal emperors vanished. As I thought, the three immortal emperors will leave temporarily. Qin Nan mumbled to himself. Without hesitation, he unleashed the divine battle spirit, which unleashed a series of shocking auras. Even in the Supreme Cave Abode, the blue glow on his back was still glowing brilliantly. It was not suppressed at all. As a matter of fact, his god force had accumulated to its peak since a few days ago. However, Qin Nan was not willing to level up normally. He wanted to merge with the force of the divine god of battle. As such, he had been waiting for the three immortal emperors to leave. Time gradually passed. 15 days were gone in the blink of an eye. During this period, the situation in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm changed rapidly. Something significant would happen every day. The most significant one was the Demon Ruler Mountain in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm that was labeled as an immortal ancient place began to react. It would not be long before it was activated. As for Qin Nan, he had accumulated quite a lot of the force of the divine god of battle in his body. It's time for me to level up. Qin Nan's eyes sprang open as he groaned. The god force in his body began to evolve as a new aura burst out of his body. First layer Heaven God Realm. Second layer Heaven God Realm. Third layer Heaven God Realm. It finally stopped after reaching the fifth layer Heaven God Realm. His golden eyes of the divine god of battle and the heaven-shattering saber began to evolve too. Their auras became even more terrifying. The latter, in particular, began to emit an immortal glow. Following it, a strong aura burst out from his flesh. Its strength was equivalent to the fourth layer Heaven God Realm. I'm one step closer to the human immortal realm. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.